cold at the touch, dead in the eyes, no signs of life no more. I put your love under the knife. Leave me to die here all alone. No signs of life no more, no. A crying dove may never fly. Black and white. Black and white. Oh, oh. Oh, oh. It's black and white. Black and white, just let me go. It's only right. For all I know, it's only matter. It's calico, it's black and white. Just let me go. It's only right. For all I know, it's only matter. It's calico, it's black and white. White, white, white. Black and white. Yeah. Black and white. Oh, oh. Oh, oh. It's black and white. Black and white.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon indeed. Welcome to the final ever broadcasted event here on Simracersworld TV, and welcome to the final round of the DynamiXX Endurance Series. My name is Chaz Draycott, and alongside me at some point today we will have Ed May. I think there's been a bit of a miscommunication with the timings, but Ed, I can guarantee, will be on his way very, very soon and will be joining me in the box. But we're here for 12 hours of racing today. We've not even just got the 12 hours either. We, of course, have qualifying, which is underway right now. Hope you're all doing very, very well indeed. And thank you for joining us on this wonderful Saturday afternoon. We'll be going right through in British summertime from 10:30 this morning, as it is now, until about 11:30 at night this evening. And if you're in Europe and on the mainland in CEST, that takes us after midnight. It's 11:30 Central Eastern European time right now. Central Europe, summertime I should say. But this circuit, well, what else can you say about Spa other than it is a legendary circuit? They're using the Grand Prix pit lane today, so they're not using the full endurance pit lane that goes all the way down the hill. So we should be able to see the drivers in the pit lane getting their stops done. We have, I think, 13 or 14 cars at the moment, so it's not the usual sort of 60-car field you'd see at an endurance event here at Spa, but it's going to be very interesting because that lack of traffic means that drivers will be able to put in their very best times all of the time, unless they're in battles. And to be honest, you know, in this championship, we've seen before that they may not have the biggest grids, but they still have very, very entertaining ones at that. In terms of the championship as well, it's worth looking here at the current standings. Sim District GT3 by BMS Vibe Esport. Well, it's not going to be a surprise to anybody that they are top of the pile. They have taken 5 wins from 5 so far. Very, very dominant in the championship. You get 20 points for a win, which would mean that anybody watching could do the maths and basically, well, say that they're champions. But they're not. Double points are awarded for this event. They don't do anything in terms of the halfway mark. It's just the points at the end of the race. So Sim District GT3 by Vibe BMS Esport are still in touching distance from Dynamics Racing Pink and Decimo BE. They can score 40 points today and still take the title. Flemish Sim Sports in 4th, ahead of McChallenge by DB1. Zenom Esports 1 tied with them on 50 points in 6th place. And as we see in the chat, yes, indeed, Porsche Sport are 8th in the championship on 46 points. That's a great achievement considering that for the first couple of rounds, they were the only car in the Porsche 992 Cup class, and they are the Porsche Cup class champions. By default, I must add, but still, they're very, very proud of their achievement. As we see in the chat, they've been fantastic to watch this season. But we need to have a quick look now, then, at the current situation in qualifying, and, well, who else would it be at the top than Olivier Bultink, who is currently fastest. Now, get used to seeing Jackie X Corner, or No Name as it's always been known, like that, because, to be honest, the changes to Spa are very, very, very vivid, and that corner has been one of them that, unfortunately, has fallen by the wayside, but there have been some very interesting changes to this circuit as of late. Now, in terms of liveries, we've got some absolute belters out there tonight. We do have also a change for the McChallenge by DB car, the number 4 machine. Look at this thing. They've now gone for a bright yellow livery on this number 4 car. It looks fantastic. Absolutely love it. This is their old livery, which again, very, very striking. But yeah, the yellow of Dida de Vlaming looks absolutely tasty, doesn't it? I'll give you the team names on the left-hand side so you can see who is where. The 2 Zenom cars together at the moment. Here's Niles de Kuiper in the Lamborghini, the 169 car. I know that with my brother in the chat, he's probably loving the fact that there's so many Lamborghinis knocking about and Audis with their gorgeous sounding V10s. We'll go on board. I've tensed up. Joe Leulenbroek there in the Zenom Esports 2 car, although we do have him down, both of them down as Zenom Esports 1. Here's Bavo Follon in the Decimo.be machine. He's going to be looking to put their car right up at the sharp end. You can see Paul Rieger also doing some personal bests. Now look at this. The Brumos colours on the 101 Porsche. Across the line goes Rieger. And it doesn't look like... Oh no, that lap did count. He just goes 5th fastest. 9.89 off the top spot. Niles de Kuiper will be next to cross the line. 2:15.1 is the benchmark time set by Sim District by Vibe BMS Esports. And, oh, sounds like someone's just had a big off, actually. You could hear contact there. Big pop and bang on the upshift for Nels de Kuiper across the line. It's a 2:16.7. But by the look of it, it did not count. Christoph Race, or Christoph Raas, I should say, is going to be next. Now, this is the beautiful, beautiful Flemish SimSports Lamborghini Huracan. Currently, Flemish fourth in the championship, trying to take the place from Decimo BE. Final, or third spot, I should say, in the championship. No improvement there, by the look of it. Here is the car that they're trying to beat in the championship, Decimo BE in the Porsche. We saw Bavo Follon earlier around this lap. Out the final corner he goes, and you can see them all running sort of far over to the right-hand side to try and shorten that run to the line. And Follon goes third fastest, as just behind him Kurt van Hoenacker goes P10 in car 10. Next across the line was going to be Sam Puttervilles in the Tri-Racing Porsche, but for some reason his lap timer has stopped counting. Olivier Bultink in the chat. Great to see you, mate. Hope you're well. Now I think he's just coming on to a lap now, is Sam Puttervilles. I have had word that Ed May is on his way, bless him. Oh. I'm apologising now to Porsche Sport, because apparently they're not meant to be in the Brumos colours. I'll have another go at the paint pack, shall I? I'll have another go at the paint pack. I'm sorry, boys. We've got 13 hours to get it sorted, so I'm sure we'll get there. Either way, potential champions to be in the number 45 car just crossing the line right now. We'll chuck you on board for a lap with these guys while I sort the paints out. And that was a lap with Scott McFall, everybody. That is an incredibly quick time, is it not? Fantastic stuff. Lovely to watch it on board there. Paul Rieger. There's the proper Porsche Sport livery. Paul Rieger just pulls over to one side, actually. Just reinstalled the paint pack from last time out, so apologies for that. And Sam Puttervilles has just put it in the wall, unfortunately. He's just had a big moment. Now, I'm worried now because I'm thinking that that's probably going to change the challenge by DB car has changed back now. The mistake was at my end there, apologies. It seemed like after the last update, Trading Paints had updated itself, and it basically started itself when I turned my PC on this morning, which it hasn't done in forever, to be honest with you. So I'll have to make sure that that is sorted, and, well, it is now, as far as we know. And I'm delighted to say that I am joined in the box by my good mate, Ed. Mate, Ed, how are you on this Saturday morning? It's nice and sunny outside my window. It's sunny at Spa Francorchamps, and we've got some mega racing ahead of us.
Yeah, brilliant. A bit stressed, but I'm here now, later than built, but here for the foreseeable, and yeah, good to go. Really happy to be here, of course, for the finale of this DynamiXX Endurance Series. A wonderful series, isn't it, Chaz? We've been here from the very beginning, and what a way to round out. I mean, I'm sure you've done all of this bit before, but wonderful to round out our time here on Simracersworld TV with some brilliant endurance racing. 12 hours of Spa, and we are closing in to the late stages of qualifying, aren't we, Chaz? And Sim District, yet again, topping times.
They are indeed. The unmistakable pace of these guys. Absolutely unmistakable pace. It's incredible. Now that I've actually turned Trading Paints off, Robin Van Gogh's livery's disappeared. But again, we saw that last time they didn't actually have a livery on that car, did they? So that's it. Like you said, I think you had one from Trading Paints previously that was theirs. But
yeah, and I've had one as well, because I've got Trading Paints off because I have the paint pack for the virtual Bell car on currently. So I'm seeing Sim District livery loading up from there.
Ah, okay. This is the wonderful world of paints, everybody, on iRacing. It can be a great place to be. Other times it can be a massive pain in the backside. Here's the 626 car, which is the RP Motorsport Verde car. It's not a machine that we've seen at every round this season, is it? I recognise it from certain rounds, but not every single one. I think we've missed it at a couple, haven't we? I think they didn't make many friends at Hockenheim, if I remember correctly, or was it a different Audi that smacked into everybody?
It was one of the RP Motorsport cars. I can't remember if it was the green one or the blue one. I know it was. There was some shenanigans going on with RP Motorsport at one of the rounds, but good to see them here for the season finale, of course. Hopefully, I mean, their pace is looking good in qualifying. P5, that's definitely nothing to sneeze at for certain. I want to see DynamiXX Pink again, though. They're continuing their run of poor qualifying form, but they do like to come alive in the race, Chaz. So
yeah,
hopefully we'll see something from them later on. Exogly, you can see opening up the chicane as wide as he possibly can to get the best exit to start a new flying lap.
Great looking car as well, the DynamiXX Pink Porsche. Easily one of the best looking cars on the grid. Fantastically striking livery, and to be honest, I think the pink really sets it off as well. They did have a car with more yellow on it from what I remember, but it seems like the other DynamiXX car not here, unfortunately, which is a shame. No Team Tice either, so we are a couple of cars down. Thijs Vandenberger has been in the session. I mean, I can click him here, look, you'll see his name come up from Team Tice, but I don't see him out on circuit, unfortunately. So I hope we do get him, but if not, then it's a big shame, and he will, of course, be missed. Now, I'm just trying to see if we can have... There we go. We've got the car numbers on the left-hand side, as you will see them, but we are going to stick with the car logos, because then you can just see the split between the manufacturers. And what you will notice, Ed, is that there's no BMW either. There's no Sim District BM this time round.
No, there isn't, which is a real shame, because you know me, I love the BMW, and it's a shame not to see it on the grid, isn't it? It's a wonderful bit of kit. And Sim District, I mean, they've been having some really good races, but not good ends to the races. We've seen them time and time again challenge for those top places, those podiums, trying to make it Sim District 1, 2, but unfortunately, yeah, like you mentioned, not here tonight, not able to try and get at least something from the final round of this championship, which is a big shame because they've been really exciting to watch.
They have indeed, yeah, and in the championship, I think they were... Who was it that was driving that car? Was it? It wasn't Nelton Carvalho and Stefan Kalbrecht, was it? Or was it? Were they... No, because... Oh, Robin Van Gogh and John Bruins were originally signed up, and they were driving the BMW, weren't they? They were the ones driving the BM, and they've changed to the Audi in the last few. That's why the car is not in the pack. So they've not been scoring points. I remember this now. they haven't been scoring points because they've basically been racing a different car to what they signed up in.
We were.
I think. It was one of them. But basically, I remember... What was it now? I'm pretty sure that we've been told about this before, but one of them has not been scoring points because they've been joining in the wrong car, essentially. They not by accident either. You know, they just decided to make the switch, but because they changed car midway through the season, they weren't eligible for points, I think. Another new name, by the way, today is Pepijn Mertens, who is racing in the Tri-Racing Porsche. Another very, very good-looking car. We have a few new drivers added to the list, actually, for today. Jonas van Verbeek will be with us, Sven Daniels, Christoph Raas, Thomas Leysen, and, of course, the guy we see here, Pepijn Mertens, in this number 3 car. Not going so well at the moment is Pepijn, as the Zenem car is off the road. But Yves Fredericks gets back on. I think, I was just saying earlier, Ed, that this is going to be a really interesting race with the fact that we've got less cars. You know, we've got 1 car per hour of the race, but the fact that there won't be as much traffic as your usual 60-car grid or more at the Spa 24, for example, it means that the drivers can put in the solid pace they want to, and they'll only have a few cars to worry about with the battles, so they may be a bit more concentrated throughout.
Yeah, and another thing as well is that there might be a change in strategy to reflect the less sort of amount of cars on the road, the lower amount of traffic, because if you single stint the tyres, you obviously have that bigger pace differential to the car ahead, but usually in an endurance setting, you have traffic, that slows you down. You can't run at that optimal pace and close that gap down, that deficit you incur from taking that longer pit stop. So by negating the fact that you've got traffic to worry about, you can really start to see a difference in strategy. Maybe that's what we'll see. I doubt it, but you could see teams try and roll the dice a little bit more, especially considering, Chaz, Spa is a circuit that does churn through the rubber.
It does, yeah. It's going to be tough on tyres, this circuit. And thanks to the wonderful SDK gaming software that we use for... Oh, hello. Bit of teamwork maybe going on here between the Porsche Sport Car and the McChallenge Audi as they try and get out of the way of one another. But thanks to SDK and the wonderful, wonderful software that they have basically, well, not provided to us, you know, we pay for it, but at the end of the day, thanks to the wonderful software they have made, we have this for this round, which I have implemented, which is the stint length. So we'll be able to compare when teams have pitted, how many laps they've been out for, and basically where they're going to end up in terms of that. So we can have a bit more of a visual representation of it, can't we, Ed? Which, let's face it, it helps us out as the session will go on and as the race goes on.
Yeah, our little chimp brains do like pretty pictures, so that down at the bottom is going to be very helpful for us in terms of being able to establish the complexion of the race, especially as it wears on, because after 12 hours, you can start to see cars on different strategies, and it's easy for us as commentators to slightly lose sight of which car pitted on which lap. There's so much going on at various other points. It is rather easy for things to somehow escape us. I know we are very good at what we do, but sometimes even we can make mistakes. So it's good to have that there to see when drivers are coming in and when we expect them to try and make their next pit stop. Just following through though, look at that, down through Pouan. Wonderful stuff, isn't it, that Porsche Sport car. Shame that they're not doing quite as well in qualifying as, again, another team that's a little bit slower in qualifying than I think we were expecting. I mean, looking at Flemish Sim Sports by Veraco, wonderful to see them so high up in the times, and I mean, set in purple sectors as well. Christoph Reis on a very good lap here.
Yeah, he's going well in this Lamborghini, and to be honest, they have done all season, haven't they? They've just had a bit of bad luck here and there. 4th in the championship at the moment, and they're not even far behind the guys ahead. You know, they're 9 points behind Decimo BE, and let's remember that there's double points today, so even if they were going to get 9 points or 10 points, they'd only have to finish 13th, and there's 12 cars. So all it would take is for them really to finish if Decimo BE don't, and they can overtake them in the championship. But then they're only 15 points behind Dynamics Racing Pink, who are currently 2nd in the standings. And, well, with 40 points on offer today, there can be some big shake-ups in those championship standings. Full disclosure though, I've just almost absolutely cacked my pants because I'm sat right near my front window where my office is, and there's loads of kids playing football outside. It's a very nice sunny day. I saw a shadow start moving across my window because it sort of sticks out of the house a bit. It's like a triangular window that pokes out. I saw a shadow moving about it, and just as I've gone to look to see what the shadow was, there was a football flying towards my window, aiming right at my face, and it just scared the absolute life out of me.
Well, something that might have scared the absolute life out of Sim District GT3, Olivier Bolting, not on pole position. What is going on here? Christoph Reis, I said he's put in a very good Sector 2, and it's good enough to be on provisional pole position.
It is indeed fantastic.
I'm just seeing here, Olivier Bolting might try and reverse the order of these two Sim District cars. He might want the tow rather than providing it for Robin Van Gogh behind Chaz.
Yeah, you're not wrong. He could just think, right, you need to give me some slipstream now, because Robin is 4th at the moment in the BMS Esport NL car. Does look good in that livery, I must admit. I do like the gradient livery on iRacing. I think it looks very striking. It's not quite what they want to go for their branding, but still, I think it looks very, very good. But he's not going past at the moment and making any moves. It's interesting to see Navarro de Bova and Jeremy de Bova 8th and 9th in the McChallenge by DB cars. That, I think I have to say, Ed, that is my favourite looking car this season. That I have to sort of round out their season by saying the McChallenge by DB Audis are definitely my favourite. Gorgeous things.
They are absolutely beautiful, aren't they? It's great to see them here. I mean, they were running a very tasty livery for the Virtual Bell car. I mean, it's always book challenged by DB. They do provide us with some very good looking bits of kit to commentate over, and good to see both of them here as well, Chaz, because we were one short the other day, weren't we, last time they were out at Montreal, so good to have them both back.
Yeah, definitely, and that's the thing. I mean, in championships like this, you get certain drivers and teams that sometimes can't quite commit to the full season, and especially with the length of the events that they do as well. You know, sometimes people just have other things going on. We always say in sim racing that real life comes first, and it does. You know, there's no excuse for that. There's no problem with that either. You know, I'll always concede that real life comes first. There's a few rounds of different championships that I'm going to be missing this year because of the fact that, you know, we've got commentary commitments elsewhere, or, you know, I'll be getting back from somewhere late from an event, things like that. And, you know, people understand that. The people I'm working for and the series that I'm broadcasting, they're very understanding of that, and it's great to see. But we've had a hell of a good time on Simracersworld TV as well, it has to be said, and I think this is going to be one final event that will be just as good. We're looking right now at Bart Parrott, and it's not Parrot as in the bird, as you see at the bottom, it's P-A-R-E-T, and he is another new driver for this evening that admittedly I've just had to add to the list. Dynamics Pink have another new weapon up their sleeve maybe, but no quicker time there by him, I'm afraid. There are currently 11 Belgians out on track and 1 Italian. The Italian being Paul Rieger, the superstar himself. And Porsche Sport say they can't fully commit today either, unfortunately. Lots going on in Porsche Sport HQ. Now, does that mean drivers or just in the comments section? Because I think one is a bit more important than the other. We don't mind if you retire from the race as long as you're commented on the stream.
Yeah, got to get that interaction, got to get the comments flowing in, help the algorithm, all this, that, and the other. Does very good things.
Is that
only for mine and Chaz's self-esteem, though?
Well, yeah. Oh, he said drivers, unfortunately. Oh, man, that's a real shame. Oh, and, well, looks like Rieger's already decided to pull it over. But either way, that is a massive shame, I'm afraid. But still, we hope you guys are all well, so maybe there may not be progress in the championship for them. But at the end of the day, you know, Ed, they are Porsche 992 Cup champions, so every cloud and all that. Yeah,
they've been able to hold on to that crown this evening. No Porsche Cup cars trying to take their crown here tonight. Good to see everyone's opting for GT3. And then look at that, but only by the thinnest of margins does Olivier Bolting regain that provisional pole position, and it looks to be set on for pole position because Flair Sim Sports don't have an answer. They are in the pits. They did that one lap and thought that would be enough, but never sleep on Olivier Bolting and Sim District GT3. That 45 Lamborghini always finds a way late on to make that little bit more time.
Does indeed. I mean, they were 28 thousandths behind before, weren't they? And now 20 thousandths ahead. When you consider that all that separates two cars in qualifying over the course of the last sort of 10-15 minutes is 48 thousandths of a second around a lap that's over 2.25 minutes. That's absolutely insane. Here's Bart Parrott. Hopefully he won't be repeating himself a lot today. Into the final chicane he goes. Oh, back end tries to step out on that Porsche. It always does that on the power, doesn't it? Sometimes it wants to be your friend. Sometimes it wants to kill you. It's a car that really can't make its mind up. Across the line it goes. Bart doesn't look like an improvement there. 2:16.0. Navarro de Bova in the background is coming across the line. And then behind him you will see Dieter de Vlaeminck as well. In the second McChallenge B Audi. That's very wide though, although this has been an outlap, so he now starts his flyer. However, he's just done it at the very end of the session, so we'll go on board, shall we, with the number 4 McChallenge by DB Audi. And we'll see how he does. Olivier Bultink is not improving on this in-lap. Hans Damiens is not either. Navarro de Bova's time shows up at the bottom now. Excuse me. Look at this up through Eau Rouge. And over Radion. Great sounding car, this Audi. It's not as aggressive sounding as the Lamborghini, but still, same engine, 5.2 litre V10. And it revs to about, well, 8,500 RPM, I think. It's incredible.
Yeah, it doesn't have, sadly, the pops and bangs that you hear when it shifts down through the gears that the Lamborghini provides us. But look at this, coming through Le Coulman, Malmedy. Wonderful, just balancing the car on the exit. Careful not to run too wide. It's easy to gain an off-track there. Down into Bruxelles, you can take two sort of lines, going for more of the V shape rather than the U shape of a line to try and maximise the exit, coming through Speaker's Corner, or No Name, or Jackie X, whichever one you prefer. So many different names for corners at this track, isn't there, Chaz? It's difficult for us commentators to know which one to use.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I mean, this is Pouon, or Double Gauche, as the Belgians call it. We've got Piff Paff, or I think this is the Fanny Chicane.
Yeah, I definitely call it Piff Paff because it just sounds fantastic for a corner name, doesn't it? Piff Paff the Chicane. It's like Piff the Magic Dragon. If you've never heard of him, then yeah, honestly, go and look
Campus, for him. Stavolo, which one's which? I always go Campus first and Stavolo second, but people have loads of different names for that corner as well.
Well, we'll go with that as the rule of thumb over the broadcast. I'll trust your judgment on that. Campus and then Stavolo. And then, of course, who doesn't know the incredible, the wonderful, hold your breath. Oh, it's insane.
Lovely Blanchon, isn't it? And then the final chicane, some people call it bus stop, some people just call it the chicane. Either one's fine for me.
I call it a terrible idea.
And I call it a great chance to send a move up the inside.
And a big chance to make a mistake for me, as Dieter de Vlaeminck crosses the line and rounds out the final qualifying session of the season. And, well, all of a sudden, a bit of calm and quiet falls over Spa Francorchamps. And there you go. Look at Eau Rouge. Its former self, as it will be very, very soon, and has changed. There's Barney dusting the flag off against the wall. I find it interesting that Barney stands on that side and not in the actual box across the line, to be honest with you. But either way, iRacing things. It's looking very, very bare, isn't it? But you can see where the circuit's rubbered in. The crowds are all out, virtually as well as, of course, physically. Thank you all for watching, and thank you for joining us here on the final broadcasted event ever on Simracersworld TV. It's certainly going to be an emotional afternoon. Right then, let's look at our grid for the last time this season, shall we? Olivier Bultink will start on pole position for Sim District GT3 by Vibe BMS Esports. I'll get that name right at least once before the end of the season. Christoph Rice in second place, alongside him for Flemish Sim Sports. Great stuff by them. Hans Damiens for Decimo BE will start alongside Robin van Gogh in the Sim District by Vibe BMS Esports NL car. Then it's RP Motorsport Verde in fifth. Peter Lemkins behind the wheel of that, ahead of Paul Rieger for Porsche Sport. Then it's Bart Parrott. He's going to be very much on Paul Rieger's shoulder for the start of this race. The DynamiXX Pink car 7th. Then it's Navarro de Bova in McChallenge by DB's first entry in 8th. Dieter de Vlaeminck is 9th with Jens Goossens alongside him on row 5. Then we have Pepijn Mertens in 11th and Yves Fredericks for Zenem Esports 2 in 12th. And I am happy to say that we do have the 13th car, which is Thijs van den Bergen, and he is at the back of the field there ready to go. So great to see at least that Team Tice is being represented here, Ed.
Yeah, good to see them here. Obviously, they decided not to take any part in qualifying, but are here for the race starts. And, I mean, it's put them way at the back. Maybe that's the best thing, all the battling down into La Source for the first time up Eau Rouge and Radion. They're going to have a good run down the Camel Straits, maybe make up a few places. So we'll see how this develops. But here we go. This is, for the final time, the start of the 12 hours of Spa. The DynamiXX Racing Simulators Endurance Championship is about to get underway, and the final broadcast here on Simracersworld TV. Well, a race here is not too far from starting, Chaz. So I'm really excited to see what's going to happen up in front. Olivier Bultig, Christoph Reis, very quick, very closely matched on pace. This is going to be an absolute humdinger of a start.
It is indeed. And Porsche Sport saying there's a Porsche in the lead. You're not wrong. They're not wrong at all. But the field gets underway then for the final time this season. And it's two Lamborghinis on the front row. The Sim District GT3 by Vibe BMS Esport entry and Flemish Sim Sports alongside. And you can see Olivier Bultink is not in any rush here to get this underway. Christoph Reis trying to get into his head on the left-hand side of that front row. And this is going to be a very, very wonderful noise and a very, very wonderful looking start, because we've got the 5.2 litre V10s of the Lamborghinis and the Audis, and then we've got that great screaming flat six in all of our Porsches in the field. But here we go, Ed. 12 hours of racing just about to get underway. Sounded like a bit of contact there. And for the final time this season, we're underway in the DynamiXX Racing Simulators Endurance Series. 12 hours of racing starts now, and it's a wonderful start for Olivier Bultink. Kemil Yagizoglu for DynamiXX Pink has already made up a place on Porsche Sport, but there's not too much in terms of shuffling going on yet. They've got a long, long time to get things done, but we're green and racing at Spa Francorchamps.
Yeah, they're going to be very patient in behind Olivier Bultink. Timed his run to perfection, backed up the field, and then stamped on the accelerator, didn't he, on the exit of the chicane, and had a good sort of half a second advantage into La Source. But this is it, down the Kemmel Straight. Sam Puttavels for Tri Racing, looking down the inside. They're going 2x2 up in front as well. I'm seeing RP Motorsport Verde trying to defend from Yagizoglu, who's already gotten off to a flying start. Further in the back, Jens Gustens goes straight on, blitzes across the grass and rejoins just in front of Thijs Vandenberg, but there will be a slowdown. He will have to concede that position. We'll see it there, and there was a collision, and Jens, I'm sorry to say, just turned into a space that was occupied by the Porsche of Sam Puttavels. But further in front, it was actually RP Motorsport that were able to hold on. I thought for a moment Yagizoglu got that move done, whereas Christoph Reis, cold tyres, swaps the ends around, almost goes into the wall, but recovers it, loses a whole chunk of positions, goes from P2 down potentially into P12.
Unbelievable.
Stays P11 for now, but just overzealous on corner entry there, Chaz.
Yeah, it was indeed. Just clip the grass on the right-hand side. It's so easy to do. And every single time anything happens here, Porsche Sport are saying it's the last ever this, the last ever green lights, the last ever first lap in the chat. We love the sentiment, guys. It's absolutely brilliant. Honestly, there are so many fantastic supporters of this channel and of us in the chat right now. We are very grateful to see it, and we hope that you stay with us for the whole thing. Look at that by Olivier Bultink through Blanchimont. Already has a 1.8 second lead, but it's the second Sim District car in second place as Paul Rieger's off. Paul Rieger's had a massive hit into the wall. Oh, no, 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 no. The Tri Racing car goes into him. Oh, two Porsches heavily damaged already on the first lap. Sam Puttavels. Oh, the Jens Gustens involved in that as well. Oh, man. Big drama. That was a massive, massive accident. What on earth happened, though? Because Sam Puttavels, did he go off first? Oh, Rieger's already off. He's done it on his own. And then, oh, wow. Look at that save by the other Zenem Lambo. Whoa, 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 whoa. Wow. Let's have a look at this. So Rieger's off. Puttavels goes right. And then, oh, my life. If you were wearing overalls, son, flipping it, you need some more. My God. Wow. That was an insane save. Like, I've not seen a save like that in a while.
That is top 10 highlight stuff right there.
Yeah.
That has to be, isn't it? That was insane. The quick reactions on display. He was able to somehow maintain the car. And look at this. This was the incident. The car was still rolling. He's, I don't know, maybe not holding the brakes.
Oh, man. Oh. Yeah, it didn't look like he did it? It didn't look like he held the brakes, but the brake lights were on.
Yeah, I guess because it does have such a violent impact. And thankfully, it was the softer barriers. I think Joe's the lesser of two evils there.
Yeah. If
that was the front end hit to that hard concrete on the left-hand side, it would be almost certainly a race-ending incident. They do have one fast repair, but unfortunately, I think a few drivers have used that one already with that incident. Thankfully, or rather hopefully, that is the last big incident we see on Simracersworld TV.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed indeed. We'll just have another look at this moment by Jens Goossens, because you can see he just chucks it to the right and instantly the car grips. Like, you don't expect the car to grip like that through there. And then look at the other car. I mean, from outside, Niels de Kuiper. What a save this is, son. Because... oh. And then it's the fact that it's going so quickly over this, and then jumps in the air over the curb, and then he gets it stopped. That's... yeah. Hats off. Hat is completely off for that by Niels de Kuiper.
Yeah, my mind is completely blown. How did he do that? How was he able to retain the control of the car, swinging it one way, then the other, sliding over the grass, sliding through the chicane, rejoining as well safely? That's the main point. He rejoined safely, Chaz. He didn't, sling it through and come across another car. He slowed it down enough just to go on the left-hand side of the circuit, well away from all the other cars that were going about their merry way, completely oblivious to all the carnage in behind. And that is a very good job by Master Kuiper there, just to regain control. And now carrying on further in front, we have a little battle here. Four-way fight between Yagizoglu, Lemkins, Debova, and Debova.
Yeah, Yagizoglu as well. Like you said before, race pace has been good so far. Good progress. 3 places gained. Biggest mover in the field. So they're having a good start. Niels de Kuiper and Thijs Vandenberger have also gained 3 places each through the mayhem. Paul Rieger is circulating again now, which is great to see. So the Porsche Sport car is back out there. But unfortunately, if we look at cars 13 and 12, that is the difference between the 2 positions that Paul has lost from that. He is on the same lap as them, though, which is very interesting. He's not been lapped by the leader yet, so even throughout that, they haven't lost a lap, which is great to see, to be honest, because it hasn't taken them completely out of contention. We know how good the pace is from the Porsche Sport car. We know that later in the race they will have to park it anyway, but still, the fact that they're still out here and still giving it a go, we really appreciate that. Now, Robin van Gogh won't appreciate Bavo Follon, because he is very close to the back of him in that wonderful, wonderful Porsche.
Yeah, look at that. On board we go with Bavo Follon. As mentioned, it worked its magic through the chicane. Now needs to go through La Source. Going to stay in behind, but you'd imagine priority number 1 is to get through into Les Combes ahead of the Sin District Audi. You can see him now just powering out, struggling a little bit through La Source. Loses a couple of tenths here and there, but now through Eau Rouge, crest of the hill. Radion gets a good line. You can see a very good run. Going to try and go which way, to the right, to the left. Which way will this Audi show him? Showing him the inside, but Bavo Follon, he doesn't want to take it, He's lifting off. You can hear those revs dipping down. Isu, while they're close together, are trying to work together, Chaz.
Yeah, definitely, and maybe saving fuel as well. Let's remember that with this being a 12-hour race rather than the 6-hour races that we usually see from this championship, pit stops and fuel saving will be amplified even more with the fact that it may save a couple of pit stops over the course of the race, not even just one. If you could save enough down those straights, it'll make all the difference later. Unfortunately, while we were looking at that, Thijs Vandenberger has had a massive off of his own at Blanchimont, showing just how easy that is to do. He has continued going. I'm not sure he went into the pits after this. He didn't, actually. He has just carried on with the damage. Well, I'm not sure how well that car will be behaving, but we can't really afford to lose too many cars here at the moment, can we, Ed? We've not got the biggest field, unfortunately, but there's definitely something... literally, as Portia Sport put it in the chat, must be oil down there. That's definitely what it is.
Yeah, very, very tricky corner at the best of times, especially now that you'll have got a full tank of fuel on board. It can upset the balance to what they were used to in qualifying, running it basically as low as they can go. If they can get the fumes out, they will. Here, though, full tank can upset the balance a little bit more. I mean, that you need to lift off, try and coast it through the corner rather than attack it that you would in quali. Speaking of attack, I can't believe that Balfour is comfortable running this close behind Van Gogh, just, you know, to save fuel. I'm definitely certain that he wants to get through at some point, because you can see the pace is definitely there for that Decimo BE car.
Yeah, he's doing well sticking with him, and the slipstream may be helping a little bit early on, but let's face it, he's still got the pace in the twisty stuff as well. 3 manufacturers in the top 3. The only 3 manufacturers we have in this event all have one car in the top 3 each. But look, he's not in the slipstream there because he knows he wants to get the slingshot when they come up out of Eau Rouge and Radion, you see. He wants to make sure he's a bit further back. I'm not going to be surprised if we see him go for a move this time round. Let's have a look. 250 Ks, and here we go. He is going for it. You could see him move out when they came out of La Source. He made sure he had the slingshot. He's down the inside of Robin Van Gogh. And lovely stuff. He goes through. There's a change further back as well. The two Dubovas move over. And Christophe Rice now back with them in the Lamborghini. Tries to get a cutback on the exit of Le Com. Down towards Malmedy they go. And then Bruchet at the bottom of the hill. Is the Lamborghini going to go for a move? No messing about here. Look at this, one way, then the other. Instant defence by Navarro Dubova. And Christophe Rice is telling him to be Navarro move over at the minute. Pushing in the Lamborghini. Get a great view of these Audis in front of us. Listen to that, good lord. Nars de Kuiper's just had an issue, I'm afraid. See what happened to him. He's just going to lose the back end here. Easy to do down the hill though into Bruchet, isn't it, Ed?
Yeah, so easy, because if you attack it quite aggressively, trying to slow it down, use the sort of angle of turning to help scrub some of the speed off. And it is a very tricky corner to get right. The elevation change being downhill does mean that the rear end can get a little bit lighter as well, and a mistake like that is very easy to do. Christophe Rice right in behind now Navarro Dubova as they make their run towards Blanchimont. He'll try and set up a move if he can for the chicane at the end of the lap, but even if he does get ahead, he'll then have to turn all the way across the start-finish line, all the way down towards Eau Rouge and all the way up towards Les Combes. So maybe it's better to sit in behind for the moment. He's going to look to the inside to try and throw the Audi into a mistake that isn't forthcoming. So Christophe Rice's next best chance, you have to say, is going to be down the Kemmel Straight into Les Combes.
Certainly will be, and I mean, just pay attention to how the car behaves on the exit of La Source as well. Just see if he does step it out wide and try and lose a bit of time on the way down the hill. If he doesn't sit in the slipstream here, no, it doesn't look like he's doing the same thing that Balvo Follen was doing. He doesn't want to be that close as Christophe Rice, but you can lift off a bit early. You know, you can focus on your line through Eau Rouge and Radion. You can get that right and then get a really good run. But look at the speed. The Lambo really gripped into the right-hand side there. He's going to move to the left-hand side. That's an interesting move because it's going to give him the outside for the first part of Les Combes, but it's going to give him the inside for the second part. And that Lambo is going so quickly. He's already in front. You saw it change on the other side, and look at that. Wow. Well, back down the inside goes Navarro Dubova, but nothing doing. Lovely stuff. Very, very touch and go for a second there. But Christophe Rice goes up a position into 7th. The progress is, as you said before, Ed, forthcoming.
Yeah, I mean, brilliant to see Navarro Dubova wasn't giving that up without a fight. Great fun. You know, it's the last round of the season. They want to have these battles. They want to, you know, get involved in these scraps when they can. You see from the aerial camera, Rice tries to cover it off, then moves to the racing line, as does Dubova. It's not really they were trying to do anything naughty, you know, no moving in the braking zone, but it was very close as Porsche Sport once more in the chat. The last ever 6th lap, I know.
Oh, for God's sake.
Heartbreaking stuff. We're going to be having this all night long, Chaz, I'm sure. All day and all night.
I can't wait till the final lap of the race, if they're still with us at that point. It'll be the last ever off-track, the last ever spin, the last ever crossing of the line. I love it. I absolutely love it. Honestly, it's brilliant entertainment and fantastic camaraderie, you know, and that's, admittedly, you know, without sounding big-headed about the channel or the brand, you know, camaraderie is something we've always had here on Simracersworld TV. You know, the broadcasts have always been fun, the people we've always communicated with, our viewers, everything's been fun. You know, there's never been a sort of down point about all of it. Well, maybe the TCR drivers, they drove me and Bart Delman mad. But to be honest, it was just, it's always been good fun. Like, everything we've done here has been enjoyable. And series like this as well, you know, Dynamics have been one of the real backbones of Simracersworld the whole time. And we really appreciate their support because it has not stopped since day one. It's been about 4 years of support. And it's great that, and very fitting, I must say, that the final broadcast on the channel is going to be their series. You know, it's been a wonderful way to wrap it up. And, I mean, we've still got, what, 11 hours and 45 minutes left, but you know, for us to do this as well, Ed, you know, we've been doing this series for a couple of seasons now together and really enjoyed it. And I mean, I did the first ever broadcast on Simracersworld TV, and I'll do the very last one as well. It's great. As away from the sentiment, Robin Van Gogh says, "Shut up, Chaz, I'm going to put a move on this Audi, oh sorry, this Porsche, give you something to talk about." And he does it nicely. I thought he was going to go a little bit deep there, to be honest with you. One thing I do want to pick up on as well, Ed, while I carry on talking forever, is something that this Lamborghini always does, and guess what they've started doing?
Breaking away up at the front with, you know, very aggressive turn of pace. It says for me on the left-hand side that they're 14 seconds in front, but I think it's more like 7. I think my timing software, and I think yours as well, Chaz, is throwing us for a bit of a loop here, but let's see, nevertheless, Olivier Bultink once more trying to break away from the chasing pack. The pack that is battling in behind because Baba Fallon is staying close to Robin Van Gogh. Those two Sim District cars and Desmo.be, they are properly scrapping away. Wonderful those. It's see Olivier Bultink yet again continuing his fine turn of pace. I was a little bit worried potentially for Sim District the other day. They didn't win. They didn't win in the opening round of the virtual bell car here at Spa, so I was a little bit worried for them, but still, they seem to be coming out in fine form for this DynamiXX Endurance Series. And like you mentioned, Chaz, you were here for the first ever broadcast on Simracersworld TV. I was here for the first ever broadcast of this DynamiXX Racing Simulators Endurance Championship back when it was multi-class between LMP2s, GTEs, GT3s. So it is wonderful to be here for the finale, where it's just pure GT3s, my favourite class of racing, although that has been up for debate with the addition of the Aston GT4. I think my ideal series would be an endurance one like this, but multi-class obviously between GT3s and GT4s. That'd be a real treat. Hopefully we can get that in the near future.
Yeah, it would be really cool to see. And you know, I mean, you've been racing in the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge, and I think it's been a bit of a breath of fresh air to see GT4 cars on their own instead of being dwarfed by GT3s all the time, you know, and just the slower class that's been told to get out of the way. Bit of deja vu here for Christoph Rice, but round the outside of Jeremy de Bova he goes, and another position gained. Another challenge by DB car has been beaten. Now, what I wanted to do a moment ago, before it's spread out a little bit, was go on board with Peter Lemkens, because if you look at this, this is now becoming a quartet. It's not just 2 drivers battling for 2nd and 3rd. This is 4 drivers battling for 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th.
I was having a look. Jagger Zogler's been putting out some very good lap times. I mean, only a 10th or so shy of Olivier Bultink's up at the front. Peter Lemkens is following suit, if not a couple of tenths shy of Jagger Zogler, but it's definitely putting in good, fair run of laps. And I mean, look at this. Jagger Zogler really closing up now in behind Babo Fallon. I mentioned before, Tech battling for P2. This is brilliant stuff. Hopefully it lasts for as long as possible. Hopefully it lasts, you know, the whole 12 hours. This is brilliant. Good stuff to see as well in the chat. Scott McFall, driver for with 45 Simdistrict GT3 entry. Olivia Bolton currently piloting that Lamborghini in P1. He's doing a very good job for you, Scott, but is it going to be just the pair of you, or are you going to have a third pair of hands to, help out? It's 12 hours. By the time as Lemkins gets a little bit scary through Broncho.
Jesus.
I think Chaz had a bit of a scare there.
I just had kittens, flipping heck. Unbelievable moment there by Peter Lemkins. That was so sideways. Didn't look like that much, but when you've driven that car around corners like that, you really understand just how bum twitchy that is. But I tell you what,
flashes before your eyes, doesn't it?
Oh, it does, honestly, yeah. It's absolutely mad. You can see, though, that, let's say second to ninth, still very close together in the middle here. We've just had a few cars that have dropped away slightly in the early stages, and then one that's disappeared up the road, as we often see. But Bavo Follen, after being the car that was certainly the one looking to attack earlier, has suddenly become the one under attack. Dynamics Racing Pink once again moving forward in the early stages of a race. Down the inside goes Kamil Yagizoglu, and up into third place, or for how long, because he was a bit slow through the second part. Scott McFall there confirming it's just the two drivers in the Sim District GT3 by Vibe BMS Esport Lamborghini. They have, of course, got their Audi as well. It's the Sim District 1-2. And the minute all of the teams actually staying together. To be honest, we've got the two McChallenge cars together, the two Zenom Esports cars together. Certainly, teamwork is the order of the day.
Yeah, you do say teamwork makes the dream work, and I mean, Irvin Van Gogh is making it work currently, trying to break away from Yagizoglu. Those battling Porsches have slowed each other down. And while they will exit Stavolo in the slipstream range of that Audi, they're a lot further back than I think they were hoping, so they need to try and get a bit of a move on, get a bit of a shift going to make sure that A2 car doesn't vanish up the road, because I mean, they'll be happy with a 1-2 finish, but they wouldn't want it to be just plain sailing boring up at the front. Maybe they would, but I certainly don't want that to be the case. I want good fighting all the way up until the checkers.
Yeah, Olivia, chuck a harsh downshift in, just to see how it goes. Oh no! Whoa. Oh, Lemkins has chucked a harsh downshift in and into the wall and off again. Christoph Reis has to avoid the second spinning car of the day. That wasn't quite the right phrase. For the second time today, I should say. He has to avoid a spinning car, but Lemkins has done a number on the front left of that Audi, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him come into the pits with a meatball flag, and yes, indeed, in he goes. That's a real shame for Peter Lemkins. He makes his way down into the pits now. You'll see him crawl.
Crying shame that is. That car was looking pretty racy as well for one of the first times this season. Well, not the first time. They've had some good results, but I mean, they were looking very good, weren't they, to round out the season with a good finish. And then one small mistake through a very unforgiving corner has put an end to their hopes, unfortunately. Robin Van Gogh trying to break away that gap, 1.5 seconds as they come into Les Cornes and through Melody. And in behind these battling Porsches, a Lamborghini is fast approaching, and is this man Christoph Reis rising up through the field after his mistake through Huon.
Yes, Ed. I like that. I love that. That's why we're here.
This is why we're here. It's brilliant. I mean, Scott, I was just about to say, shame that it is the last one for the series, but it certainly won't be the last time me and Chaz share a comms box. That is for certain.
Oh, aye.
And it won't be the last time you'll be hearing a pun. I can guarantee that.
Oh no, we've got to get one in every 10 minutes at least, I think.
That's our quota.
Now, as we have a bit of a moment here, just to maybe get a bit more casual at this point, Ed. Obviously, this is a very long broadcast today. We do have a multitude of commentators that will be joining us. Just to let everybody know, for the first part today, it will be Ed and I until about 2 p.m. British summertime. That's about 3 p.m. Central European summertime. And then from that point on, we will have Marcus Gjesdal joining me for 2 hours of the second part. He has to unfortunately shoot off an hour earlier than planned, but that is all fine. Like we said earlier, real life comes first. And then we will have a bit of a commentary break for at least an hour when the third part gets underway, maybe just before the second part finishes. We will still switch over as planned, but I am broadcasting the whole thing, so I will need a bit of a break at that point, I imagine. That'll be around sort of 6 to 7 CEST. And then the wonderful Hassa Raymer will be joining me for, I'm sure, 2 very fun-filled hours with the incredible Dane here at Spa Francorchamps. And then our wonderful and very, I tell you what, out of all commentators I work with, Ed is one of the most committed I've ever met. But Ed commits then to the final couple of hours with me again, and we will take you to the very end of the season and the very end of live broadcasting here on Simracersworld TV. Now,
you say how committed I am. A shame I can't commit to listening to my alarm when I wake up this morning, but
oh mate,
good to be here. Good to be here as well for the final 3.
Now, I was leading up to a question with this, and it is, are you armed with snacks and drinks for the day?
I've got some Ribena.
Love it.
It's going to see me through the next 3 hours, and
other blackcurrant
snacks.
Juice is available.
Other blackcurrant juice is definitely available. Snacks, I'm a little bit light on. I've got some minstrels, and that's about it. So
okay.
I might try a little bit of a snack run in the afternoon before
in your
the final
6-hour break
in the comms box.
Your wonderful 6-hour break. Knowing that I had 12 hours to do today, to be fair, I've probably picked all of the noisiest things I could have picked. I do like a snack, and admittedly, I've been on a diet recently, and I've lost about nearly 2 stone, so I can ruin it for a day, based on the fact that I'm going to sit here on my backside and broadcast sim racing. To go through the big list, I've got 2 tubes of Pringles because I couldn't decide which flavour I wanted. Other round tubular crisps are available. I went to Aldi and got a massive bag of onion rings, a massive bag of what look like Doritos. Like I say, other tortillas are available. Oreos, 2 packs. Then weird Cadbury round...
Other biscuits are available.
Yep. Then weird Cadbury round things, other round chocolatey biscuit-scented things are available. And then them caramel wafer bars. Good Lord. A big pack of them. Oh, and I've got a massive, massive pot of cheese dip as well, because I'm obsessed with cheese dip.
Are they the Tonics ones, those caramel wafers?
No, actually, they're not, because other ones are available.
Other ones are available. Okay, I see. Other ones. I mean, those caramel wafers are so many memories of stacking on them, sitting by the side of racetracks. Oh, on cold, windy days.
Yeah, but you've got to use a hammer to break into them.
Oh yeah,
you can't use your teeth. You've got to stamp on them to break them up a bit.
Well, especially if they've been in a cool box for a while and they get very, very rigid.
Oh,
and hard,
no!
And you need to snap them in half.
Oh no! You do not refrigerate chocolate. Anything chocolate based.
Oh come on! You've got to put a curly whirly in the fridge because it turns into a weapon at that point.
You can use it.
They become solid.
You can build houses.
You can batter someone with it. Honestly, it's. I mean, they're brilliant. You've got to put chocolate in the fridge. Especially now it's getting summer, Chaz. Chocolate in the fridge. That's where it belongs.
No.
Ah.
No.
Hopefully this is the last disagreement on Simracersworld TV.
Well, I hope so. It better had be, because now we're going to put it to the audience. Question. Well, I know it clips the iRacing logo, but shut up. Question of the hour. Chocolate in the fridge, yes or no? We want to hear that in the chat. Let us know. And, well, Marcus Gesdal's already said you need to have chocolate in the fridge for at least a bit to bring up the flavour. Chocolate in the fridge, no, says Porsche Sport. See, this is the thing. We're chill here on Simracersworld TV. I forgot what channel we're on.
Yeah, chill, but not like your chocolate.
Hey!
You heathen.
This is it. Apparently Olivier Bultink's just had a bit of a moment off the track, but maybe just through the first of the 2 right-handers campus. He just went a little bit wide. Let's have a look at it again. You can really use the curbs here, can't you, Ed? Because, I mean, look how wide that runoff is. Yeah, apparently that's him off the road. But some people, you see them just dip a wheel on the gravel, and it's easy to push it too hard through there, isn't it? Yeah,
definitely. And I think a big issue for us as commentators is that our software likes to tell us when cars go off track. But I think it's running a slightly outdated version of the off tracks, because for me it's saying that our race leaders, Olivier Bultink, they've got 30 off tracks, where I don't think that's the case, Chaz. I'm fairly certain they've been good enough, considering that I think 30, I think it's 25 off tracks will get you a drive-through penalty here. Yes, it is not changed from the 6 hours, so we might start to see drivers later on in the evening need to take drive-through penalties.
Yeah, that's very true, actually. I mean, I've got 40 right now after that, but to be fair, they've always been sensitive at Spa Francorchamps. You know, it's always been something that has been a talking point whenever you race here. I think when I did my first Spa 24 hours in, I think it was 2016 with last minute racing, I had that many incident points that by the end of it, I decided to try and get our car to 400 incident points by the end of the race, and I absolutely tanked my safety rating and went down to like a D 1.1 or something horrendous from like a B 3.2. So, yeah, I lost a lot of licenses that day, but either way.
Was that the infamous day where they forgot to put penalties on the off tracks? There was one infamous Spa 24 where cars were taking the absolute Mickey Mouse, weren't they? They were. I can't remember when it was now. But
they went one way then the other with it 2 years in succession. So 1 year, they had something like 24 incidents and you get disqualified from the entire race. And then the following year was the one where there was no implications whatsoever and you could just get as many off tracks as you wanted. Christoph Rice, sorry, there is a race going on, isn't there? Christoph Rice has just passed Bavo Follon in one of the easiest ways possible, but look at the pace of this car. The way that he is caught up with this quartet, these guys aren't really moving forward in any way relative to him. You know, he's just sort of going quicker than them at the moment and just picking them off one by one. He's now less than half a second behind Kevin Liagizoglu, and it's about time to confirm that the entire pack is all Belgians except Paul Rieger, unfortunately for Paul. Not that there's anything wrong with Belgians, we love the lot of you. But this group at the moment is certainly going to be watching Christoph Rice because he's just doing an amazing job, isn't he? And as Hendrik de Grave puts in the chat, the powerhouse, he really is.
Yeah, he's absolutely motoring along after that early misstep. He's making up for it, certainly, by having a brilliant drive up through the field. And I mean, I'm not too sad about it because it's given us some great overtakes to commentate over. And are we going to see another one as he's in behind Liagizoglu? The Dynamics Pink car motors its way down towards Eau Rouge, quickly followed by the Lamborghini. Look at those endurance headlights as well, shining on the Flemish Simsport Lambo, coming over the crest of Radion, looking already to the outside. Such is the run of the 86 Lamborghini, side by side, getting the slight tow from the Audi up the road and already into the braking zone. Christoph Rice clearly ahead. Good move there up into the podium places.
Lovely stuff. Absolutely lovely by Christoph Rice, but unlike what Follon did, Liagizoglu has not let him get away with this. You know, he's not disappeared up the road yet, but there, look. Liagizoglu went to look down the inside. That's compromised his line just to try and risk putting a bit of pressure on Christoph Rice, and now Bavo Follon is on the back of him. Fantastic racing by these guys up front as well. Really clean, really friendly stuff. And you can guarantee that this is going to continue. The battles may spread out at points because that's just endurance racing, but you will see a lot of great battles like this from these guys. They've spent a fantastic amount of time racing together. And it just gets better and better every time we watch it, doesn't it, Ed? We do see incidents, but again, that's just racing, isn't it?
Yeah, that is part and parcel of racing, especially when the drivers, they are dead set on holding or trying to gain those positions. You can sometimes see a little bit of argy-bargy that boils over, but I mean, brilliant to see thus far. There haven't been really many egregious mistakes from drivers in making overtakes in terms of doing anything that we'd say all naughty for. It's just been, you know, a few little incidents all by their lonesome that drivers have, I guess, got caught up in innocently, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. You know, it's just these moments happen. I mean, Paul Rieger earlier on having that spin. It's so easy to do that, you know, through Blanchimont. It's such an incredibly difficult corner, and with the engine right at the back, 30 feet behind the driver as it is in the Porsche, it is unfortunately more prone to those sorts of spins than your mid-engine cars like your Ferraris, your Lambos, your Audis, basically every other car in the field. But it just happens. That's racing, you know, nobody's perfect. We all make mistakes when we're racing. That's just how it happens. Now, in terms of gaps, one of the biggest gaps we have in the field is from this car, the 69 machine, to the car ahead of it, which is Niels de Kuiper, their teammate. The gap is 24.6 seconds currently. We'll show you what that looks like when you apply that to a track map. And it doesn't look like much there, to be honest with you, but the speed that the number 8 blob is doing That shows you just how far that suddenly becomes. He's going to be at the end of the Kemmel Straight before Jens Goossens gets to Eau and Blanchimont, and that's quite a big gap already to have half an hour in. Eau and Radion. Whoa! Sorry.
Whoa, where did that... Oh, Blanchimont. Oh. I mean, it is a very tricky corner, both of them, Radion and Blanchimont. They are nightmares if you've got a full tank of fuel and cold tyres, so I can't really judge you too much for that mistake, Chaz. It's so difficult sometimes with corner names, especially here at Spa. But further in front, the quartet battles on. Robin van Gogh getting caught hand over fist by this Lamborghini. Christoph Reis, who is... I'm not going to make a pun again. He's definitely climbing up through the order. It's too easy, Chaz. It feels dirty to do it again the second time.
It is, isn't it? That's the thing with, Ed and I, we love a driver pun. We love puns about driver names. It's actually kind of difficult to do with a lot of Belgian names, to be honest with you, because the way that they translate and the way that they get pronounced from us English people who try and say it wrong as wrong as possible, it doesn't always work out to be the best pun. But either way, this is a great quartet to see. But unfortunately, they do find themselves quite the way behind race leader. We'll show you the top 5. You can see they're just all in one little blob there coming out of the final chicane. And just as he went out of shot there, Olivier Bulting here currently leads the race by just over 10 seconds. Although fastest lap of the race by Christoph Reis that time round.
Yeah, very good turn of pace there. A good 4/10 faster than Olivier Bulting, who's currently leading this race, so that does bode well for Christoph Reis. Should he get into clear air now, down through Eau Rouge, up at the crest at Radion again. This Lamborghini looks so brilliant through that section of the circuit. The Audi looks a little bit twitchy, a little bit nervous, and that allows Christoph a brilliant run now to the outside. Defensive driving on display from Robin van Gogh. He's got to just have a nose up the inside into Les Combes, but not enough to defend and has to concede the position to Christoph there. So now back up into P2 is this Flemish Simsports Lamborghini, and the focus has to shift on breaking away from the Audi in behind now.
That was lovely. Absolutely lovely stuff. Really, really tidy down the straight, just as he's done multiple times. It's not the first time he's done that. It's not the last either, I'm sure. But just so tidy in how he did it. Robin van Gogh did keep the pressure on until he got right to the corner entry, but it just wasn't enough. And in the end, well, back up to second place go Flemish. And considering that they had that spin on the very first lap of the race, right down at Pouhon as well, when the field was close together and everybody could get away, that's amazing. Absolutely amazing to see that Christoph's got the pace to get straight back up there and into second position. Now, it's going to be intriguing to see if Van Gogh can go with him here, because we know how fast Robin is. I think this is going to help him break away from the 2 Porsches behind. I mean, you can already see it kind of happening. It's 1.2 seconds the gap from Sim District by Vibe BMS Esport NL back to Dynamics Pink. That's 3rd and 4th. So I reckon these 2 Porsches, they need to get a move on here.
Yeah, definitely, but it doesn't look like they are. They've dropped back now from 1.2 to 1.4 seconds just down this straight. Down. Oh, I thought for a moment we were going to see a lunge from that Vibe Esports Audi. Running behind, that has lost them a bit of time, though. Yagizoglu closing that gap back down. They need to be hoping that the Kemmel Straight will help them out down towards Les Combes, because Christoph Reis very, very quick up at the front. Another fastest lap of the race to bring the deficit down to Olivier Bulting. It's not all over yet, Chaz, for the lead of this race. Flemish Simsports could come through to put in an absolute masterclass, because these lap times from Christoph, they are absolutely red hot.
They are. They're certainly impressive at the moment. Now, it just depends on whether the tyres sort of stay with it or not. That's the thing, because we were talking earlier about how difficult this circuit can be on tyres. And let's not forget as well that it's not the only circuit that drivers are going to be racing around for a long time this weekend that is harsh on tyres. And that is, of course, the Nürburgring 24, which gets underway today. So much so that I'm actually going to be commentating on part of it at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, actually, as part of the Williams Esports effort. I'm going to be doing one of their private streams. I'll be on camera with them. But still, I think that's why we've just lost a couple of drivers to that this weekend. You know, there's a few in this championship that they feel they may not be in with a shout of winning anything or climbing up the order, so, you know, they'll focus their efforts on that. And, you know, fair play to them, because it's so difficult to commit to all of the special events over the course of a year in iRacing, and hats off to them, I say, because the Nürburgring 24 is so fierce.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've not been able to take part in this Nürburgring 24 because of my commitments elsewhere and my commitments to Simracersworld TV, but I'm sure that, I mean, to be fair, I'm not too upset about that, because most of my Nürburgring 24 efforts have ended with me behind the wheel, which is never a good feeling. I'm sure my teammates will be very pleased to know that I'm not racing this year. I just can't get along with the Nordschleife Ritzer circuit, especially in GT3s, that I've never been able to get right. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. It is the hardest racetrack to drive. I'm sure nobody would disagree with that. Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely going to be watching the official broadcast if I can find the time, because it is a joy to watch the cars go around that circuit. I've commentated on numerous very sort of different VLN style races around there, and it's always a good time.
Yeah, it always is. You know, it's just one of those events where, I mean, much like Spa, you know, I always say that there's a few sort of like crown jewels in the endurance racing calendar, and it's always 24 hours of Spa, 24 hours of Nürburgring, and of course the 24 hours of Le Mans. Sebring's up there with their 12-hour race as well. You know.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Sebring's brilliant.
And Bathurst, you know, 12 hours of Bathurst. But Spa, no matter what you're doing at Spa, even if it's a race that's part of a different championship like this, you know, it's not the sort of international special event 24 hours of Spa. It's always special at Spa. I really enjoy having Spa on a calendar for any series, because it just feels like a great place to be, even in the sim. You know, some people that they don't quite understand sim racing, they just find it strange to be like, why are you so excited about them racing there? You know, it's not like you're actually there, but just the racing that it generates and just seeing the cars go around it, you know, it just feels like a different circuit to a lot of others. It's great.
It is wonderful. I mean, I've never quite got along with Spa. I've never been as quick as my rivals at this circuit. It's a track that I never seem to go well at, but I'm never miserable driving around this track. You've always got a smile on your face, because it is a wonderful venue, a wonderful circuit just to churn through the laps at. Speaking of churning through the laps, I mean, Christoph Reis, Robin van Gogh, they've stuck together. They've got the laps down, and they've got the gap established now between themselves and the two Porsches in behind. Jägersoglu not able to, I guess, stay close enough to the rear end of that Audi. The gap now 2 seconds, and I think these Porsches, they might start to squall amongst themselves now that they can see those two cars vanishing off into the distance, second and third, getting smaller and smaller outside their windshield.
Yeah, they are indeed, and Kemal Jägersoglu, he's going to be pushing so hard right now in that Dynamics pink car. Let's not forget as well, they're second in the championship at the moment with Decimo BE only 6 points behind them. In the current positions that they're battling for, 4th and 5th, there would only be 2 points difference between them, and Dynamics Racing Pink would extend their gap. But Flemish, up in second place in this race at the moment, would get 17 points. Now, that gap would be extended to 6, which would put them tied with... Oh, no, sorry, it wouldn't put them tied with Dynamics Pink. Actually, no, it would. Yeah, sorry. It would put them tied with Dynamics Pink, because at the moment, they're... Oh, no, they're 15 points behind. Ignore me, I can't figure out maths right now.
It does become a little bit harder when you have to factor in the double points that are on offer here at Spa, so... Yeah, we're trying to figure out maths. It's never been our strong suit. We'll have time to try and do all the calculations in the background. I'm sure, Chaz, you'll be using your hour off of speaking to be furiously pounding away at the calculator to figure out who's going to be where, what's going to be happening, all these different championship permutations. I'm certain is your commitment to racing and commentary, that even when you spend the time away, you'll be still engaged and focusing.
Oh, yeah. I'll still be here.
I mean, this is brilliant battle, isn't it? No, Fallon, Jägersoglu still scrapping away. Fallon now ahead of Jägersoglu, that Dynamics pink car, but I'm not sure if that will stay the way that we're seeing at the moment. I mean, the gap's been established, but Jägersoglu is so quick in race trim that I don't think it will stay 1 second for much longer. I'm very certain that will come crashing back down.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. I think it's going to be... I mean, we've seen the gaps go as... Oh, no, off goes Robin van Gogh. Off goes Robin van Gogh. And as I'm here trying to type up things about points and try and get all that sorted, Robin van Gogh has gone off and into the wall at Blanchimont.
Carl looks in one piece, but...
Oh, no.
Robin van Gogh doesn't feel like it and comes into the pits.
Navarro de Bove has just done it as well. He's just made a big mess of that Audi, front, side and back. Oh, heck. Something definitely going on here. Oh, Van Gogh just loses the rear. It over-rotated on the way in, didn't it? It already looked like it was going through on the way in. Now, this is a bit too far back, unfortunately. We'll have to very quickly click on him. Oh, where's he gone? No. John Bruins has taken over the car, so it does show us John during that.
It just snaps, doesn't it, as he turns in, as he sort of goes into the corner, and then on the exit, kind of rips up unexpectedly. And this was Navarro de Bova just clipping the inside curve, isn't it, Chaz? There's a little hook on that inside that just loops him around into the harder wall, and that's the difference between hitting that outside softer tyre barrier and that inside hard, unforgiving concrete. Front end completely destroyed.
It's a
on
massive
that challenge by DB car.
It is indeed. It is a humongous shame, and that means that the battle has very, very much changed now. So I think, let me just check something here. Now, I apologise in advance if this makes a mess, because knowing me, it will. But on SDK, just excuse me for a moment, bear with this, you can have points before the race. Now, I've put in the point system based on the double points. I could click current and it will show you how the championship will finish, and of course nothing's changed. Okay. Okay, then. Alright. Well, I'll continue trying to figure that out as well. Ooh. Hello. There was a bit of a blink in and out there by Bavo Fallon of the Decimo BE car. Top three are now back to how they were, by the way.
Yeah, and what did I say? Jägersoglu was going to close that gap down very quickly, and it's been a lap, and he's right up behind now the rear wing of the Porsche in front. Bavo Fallon for Decimo.BE. Holding on for the moment to P3. This is a podium fight now that Sim District Audi made their mistake just off the exit of Blanchimont. So easy to do, but that's sent them down the order, and means yet again Chaz will have to watch another brilliant fight up through the field.
Yeah, we will. It's been great to watch so far, to be honest, with these guys making the progress they have. Let me just see. I'm sorry, I really do want to try and get this done and get the points done, because I think it would be very helpful for us if we can get that as we go through the race. You know, you can see how the championship sorts itself out. But these two Porsches still stuck very much together. Dynamics Pink want to get onto the podium. Niles de Kuiper having the best race so far, though, in terms of positions gained. 6 places gained for this car at the moment. And the other Zenom car getting 3 places gained as well, to be honest with you. So it's all going well. Paul Rieger is closing in on Navarro de Bova now. He's 11.8 seconds behind him. And pushing on is Paul.
Yeah, I was just about to say though, for Niles de Kuiper, this is the bit where if it's anything like me with Zenobia Sports, his teammates will be blasting out the Spotify on their phones all by myself, playing along, because he's in his own little bubble. He's got plenty of space in front, plenty of space behind. It's just one of those, as is the case for Paul Rieger. You know, all by himself. But he's closing in on Navarro de Bova now that they've had to make their untimely pit stop. Just shows that they're not going to be the only ones to fall victim to Blanchimont this evening.
Yeah, indeed. It seems like it's not easy. Now, I have just updated it. Let's see whether this does it. No, of course it doesn't. Okay. It's just, this is going to...
Why would it ever work?
It's just going to be me doing tech support for the whole thing. So I've got the point system in there. We have basically what's called multi-car teams. So drivers in a team, essentially, rather than just the drivers themselves. We have their championship standings, and we can basically tell it what points they're on at the moment, which is what we've got. And then we can tell it how many points they should get based on what the point system is for the series. And I think if I change this... I'm sorry everybody, I know it's probably not the most interesting thing to hear me going, yeah, I'll do this. But, you know, I want this to work, I want it to change. No, still nothing. Okay, right, I'll
Why
give
would it ever work, Chaz? Why would anything we ever do work brilliantly first time?
I don't know, actually, Ed. You're not wrong, to be honest with you. I'll tell you what, why don't we try this? Because I've now got overall, which is the class set. No, okay, that's
even worse.
Yeah, it's even worse. Everyone's got no points. Brilliant. Okay. Well, I'll give up on that for a bit.
There is a race going on, Chaz.
There
in
is.
the background. 5-0 fall on. Again, trying to defend from Jägersoglu as they make their way down through Roussel and Speaker's corner now. See, I don't understand why people call it no name, because it's the corner with, I think, the most names on the circuit.
Yeah. It's had like 3 or 4 different names, apparently. It was Jackie X Corner at one point as well.
I think it's just everyone's decided, right, you've had too many names, now you're getting none.
Well, I think now it's... Hasn't it had another rename?
We had this discussion the other day, me and Hazar Oma for the virtual bell car, and we didn't come to a conclusion either, to be honest. It's a nightmare trying to figure out what's what, who's who, where is where, why is why, what day is it, who am I?
I wake
All
up
this, that,
thinking
and
the
the other.
same thing every day, mate. Oh well.
No, this is... Yeah, I mean, it's... We'll try and come to the end. Hopefully YouTube chat in the infinite wisdom will be able to tell us what the corner names are, because us as commentators, we try our very best, but we don't have time to check Google halfway through the broadcast, sadly.
Well, I do. I've got 3 screens, but... Why is why, Ed May 2022, says Marcus Gesdal. Also, Marcus, I think I need a crash course in how to pronounce your name. I think it's Gesdal, but probably wrong knowing me.
I was going to go Gisdal, but I think that's wrong as well.
I like that. Well, either way, Marcus, you've got a new name, so I look forward to having you join me in the box a little bit later on. Right now, though, Ed, we're in a bit of a chilled out period of the race, except for these 2 Porsches that are close together. And actually, being honest with you, Thijs Vandenberger is also close to the back of Sam Putterville's further back in the Tri Racing machine. And it's... Oh, right. Yes, Dal. Okay. Well, I'll shut up then.
Both of us were wrong.
Yeah. Well, it's not the first time, it won't be the last, is it, Ed?
No,
Let's face
definitely not. That won't be the last time. I mean, Porsche Sport will keep this tradition going.
Yay.
It's not the last ever time that we'll be wrong here on a broadcast.
No, I'll give up. I'll give up with the points.
It's Porsche Sport does in the chat. Again, on fine form. We're approaching the end of the last ever first hour, Chaz.
Oh, it's so sad. It's so sad. But it is what it is, you know. It's... I've got no other words other than it is what it is, I'm afraid. It is, yeah. Part of business sometimes is just the fact that it can just be like that. And, oh, has somebody just gone off? Oh, Paul Rieger. Paul has been in the wall. And...
No more fast repairs.
I think that's going to be it, I'm afraid.
Ooh.
Same as before. Like, identical incident. Just the car breaks away. And it's as easy as that, I'm afraid. So, Porsche Sport, I feel we may not see back out there, unfortunately.
Hopefully they'll all be chipping in the YouTube chat at the very least for the remaining 11 hours to keep us company. Sadly, they're not going to be keeping the other cars company on circuit much longer. Hopefully they come out right at the end for, you know, to at least greet the checkered flag, because it's the least they deserve, isn't it, Chaz?
Oh, definitely.
To see out the final race of the season.
Yeah, for sure. And they've always been entertaining. You know, they've tagged us in wonderful stuff on their fantastic content over Instagram and all over the social media as well. You know, they've been really appreciative of our efforts. And they said apparently they've got the wrong setup, and it's the last time they'll ever load the wrong setup. Well, I'm not sure about that. Maybe the last time on Simracersworld TV, but not sure about your ventures elsewhere, boys. That's down to you. But this is still an intriguing battle. Speaking of the two Porsches, we've got two Lamborghinis leading the way, then the two Porsches, Bavo Follen and Kemal Yagazoglu, still very close together. But right now, I think, admittedly, Ed, I think Bavo he's just sort of dragging Yagazoglu along with him, while Christoph Rice has done the fastest lap of the race, 2:16.28. Very, very quick indeed.
I'm just thinking though, if we go on board with Yagazoglu, probably next time they come to the end of the Kemmel Straight, we might hear a little bit of lifting. I'm not certain that DynamiXX Pink car is going at full pace. I think we're starting to see a little bit more of a measured drive through to look after the fuel here, Chaz, because I think it could be tight to go that extra lap.
Let's have a listen. We might not always see it down towards Pouhon, to be fair. You usually do hear fuel saving going on when you get to this bit here, don't you?
Yeah, you can sometimes do it here. A little bit of a lift, but nothing major.
Yeah.
Ideally, you'll see it into one of two areas, down into the final chicane or down into Les Cornes at the end of the Kemmel Straight. So we'll see is, you know, Bavo goes for a blink up in front. And now we listen as they exit, or as they make their way towards Blanchimont. And as soon as they exit, listen to the revs, see if they dip down towards that final chicane.
What a noise as well.
Definite lift there, I think. Not the biggest of lifts, but definitely a lift nevertheless. As Yagazoglu comes early into the pits, just very early, 55 minutes gone in this race.
Yeah, now let's not forget that not long ago the GT3s were updated so that the fuel capacity was quite a bit smaller as well, wasn't it? I think we figured out it was like 15% smaller or something like that compared to what they used to have as Kemal Yagazoglu comes to a stop, and that means
considerably earlier than everyone else, apart from Zenum, that then joins them to prove me immediately wrong.
Yeah. And now's the Kuiper on his way in as well. But yeah, I mean, we usually see pit stops around an hour, don't we? But yeah, I think at this point it is a bit early to go in. But you know, that's how things can change. We'll get the wonderful strategy graphic out a little bit later on, and we'll see just how that works.
Saying in the chat 104 litres instead of 120 litres that the tanks used to be able to be filled up to. However, I did notice in the virtual bell car the other day, the GT3s were able to make it to the hour with a bit of fuel saving. You can make it work. You can avoid the splash and dash come the end of the race. So this is a very early stop, you have to say, from that DynamiXX Pink car. Simracersworld Yagazoglu might need to do a lot of fuel saving before the end of the race. Just watching though, Flemish Simsports and Olivier Bultink keeping very close together on the times. That gap has essentially stayed at 10 seconds ever since Christoph Rice got into P2. So this is a very good, promising turn of pace from this Flemish Simsports car. Christoph doing a brilliant job, just not making those inroads just yet. And I think, Chaz, we are going to see its trademark from Olivier Bultink before he's coming into the pits. He's setting the timing sheets alive. Purple, Sector 2 and Sector 3. We might see a new fastest lap of the race.
As Jens Goossens has gone around in the Zenum Lamborghini. There's another car coming through there. That is the RP Motorsport Verde machine. But yeah, we usually do see, as Christoph Rice comes in, as just slowly around down through Blanchimont. We said how easy, Blanchimont again, Bruchet. We said how easy that was to do earlier, and there is more proof. But yes, Christoph Rice in the pit lane now in the Flemish Lamborghini. Thijs van den Berger in there as well. But yeah, Olivier Bultink, 2:15.8. That's a second faster than anybody else's best laps, which is ridiculous. But he's done that on low fuel, and we always see him do this, like you say there, Ed. Always, before they come in, a lap or two before they come into the pits, this team, they will always just light up the timing screens purple and do their personal bests or best lap of the race. And Olivier Bultink right now is on fire once again.
I mean, there's the famous hammer time, but what would you call, what would it be, you know, for Olivier Bultink at the end of the stint, where he has to, you know, essentially just go flat out, which he is doing right now, churning out these purple sectors. Not sure you can really find anything for Bultink, unfortunately.
The bull run.
Oh, the bull run. There we go.
Because it's a Lamborghini as well.
Oh, I love that, Chaz. That's perfect. That is...
We're witnessing the bull run.
That's one of the best things you've said. Full stop. There we go. Just
Other
leave it
than
there.
chocolate shouldn't go in the fridge.
No. 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 We're going to keep this going all night. Chocolate can go in the fridge and should go in the fridge, especially now because it's getting warmer.
And we're
Don't
about
want
to
it melting.
We're about to finish the first hour of the race. I'm going to keep a list of these things. Question of the hour. So we're going to do hour 1 was chocolate in the fridge. And I'm going to come up with questions for further down the line. I'm sure Ed and I will have quite a number of them to share between us. We'll have to start a chat for that, but yeah.
Oh, it's going to be like a podcast, isn't it? I love these sorts of broadcasts where the racing is definitely there. It's definitely in the forefront of our minds, but can sometimes sit back for the more important questions, like does chocolate belong in the fridge? That's what everyone is joining us here on Simracersworld TV this today and going into the afternoon to find out, isn't it, Chaz?
Oh,
does chocolate belong in the fridge?
Ed is a man of culture, says Marcus.
Yeah, because I'm just right. I'm just objectively correct about everything. It's wonderful. As we see Bavo fall on into the pits just before the hour mark, but this pit stop will take him over that time, so it should be fine for Desmo.be until the end of the race. Keep your eyes open, though, for where they come out, because Yagizoglu, let's not forget, pitted a little while earlier.
Did indeed. Could get a very interesting overlap there. We've just hit 1 hour in this race, the first of 12 completed. Thank you very much, everybody that has been joining us so far. Porsche Sport asking in the chat, white or milk chocolate? I'm not sure, because I think white, it leaves like a weird layer in your mouth after a while. It feels like a very oily chocolate. I think I prefer milk for the long run, but I do like white chocolate. I'm quite a fan. I used to get known, actually, when I was little as the Milky Bar kid, to be honest with you, because I used to have a big blonde bowl cut and massive round glasses. I used to literally look like the Milky Bar kid.
My nickname was Dobby, but we're not going to get into that.
Is it because you like socks?
Because I look like a little elf.
Oh, bless you. Right.
As we see
the
race go on.
Sorry, mate. Oh, fantastic. Well, Yagizoglu still behind Bavo Follen. And to be honest, the pace difference down the hill is not much. Bavo, if anything, has actually got further ahead, despite their pit stop being about a second longer than Dynamics Pink. So that has changed indeed. Dobby and Milky Bar on comms, apparently, according to Porsche Sport. I'm not bald anymore. My hair's thinning, as you'll have seen on my recent YouTube videos, but I'm not bald yet. Be alright. But these two Porsches looking and sounding phenomenal, Ed, but the gap is getting bigger and bigger from them to Olivier Bultink, but we'll have to just see what it's like when he pits, which surely should be now. Here we go.
It's got to be, yes it is now. Pitting basically on the exact same lap where they did last time out in the virtual bell car, so they're still on fire and form, able to make the strategy work from last time, and I'll tell you what, as long as they get into the pits and out again, they'll be very comfortably in the lead, because those times that Olivier Bultink was putting in before making this pit stop, they were absolutely red hot yet again from the 45. Yagizoglu keeping the gap 1 second now behind Bavo Folon, so not the end of the world. We see wonderfully Chaz giving us the information there. Track temperature 32 degrees, ambient air temperature 21. We are still not at midday in sim time. It will start to get a little bit later, a little bit darker as the evening goes on. I think we will finish under sunset if my timing is right. Actually, no, we won't finish under sunset. We will finish completely under the cover of darkness.
Yeah, it will be pretty dark by the time we get to the end. Now, quite a long stop in comparison for Sim District. 43.2 seconds. It's the longest stop anybody's had so far out of those that were scheduled. We will see the gap come flying down now to Christoph Rice, but it's not massive. It was, what, 10.3 seconds before? We'll
I think we might see 9.3 now after that pit stop.
Yeah, it is still coming down quite quickly, but so is this as well, because right now, Kemal Yagizoglu right behind Bavo Follin again. The slipstream has brought them back together in this battle for 3rd and 4th position. And it's about time that we have the second question of the hour come up on the screen. But down the straight we go after Arushan Radion, and look at this run now by Kemal Yagizoglu. I don't think he's going to hold back here, Ed. What do you reckon? Do you think they might try and work together? Oh, he is.
I mean, we've got to listen on board. Yeah, Yagizoglu not going fully flat to the floor on the loud pedal. Looks to the inside, but not to actually go for an overtaking move. Potentially just to throw off Bavo Follin if he can. A bit of psychological battling rather than on-track door-to-door battling from this DynamiXX pink car at the moment. I think he realises that he's been thrown off of the optimal strategy after pitting a lap earlier than Bavo, who himself pitted just a little bit earlier than I think he was hoping for, but still comfortable enough to make it until the end of the race without a splash and dash, should he continue on that turn of pace. Now, yeah, question of the hour, pineapple on pizza. I'm going to have to say no. I'm not a fan.
No.
I just don't like Hawaiian.
Big no.
Yeah.
Like that's one thing I feel really strongly about, and is like, that is a very, very big no from me. Pineapple on pizza is just a no, I'm afraid.
I mean, for me, it's mushrooms on pizza as well.
See, this is the thing, right? We're getting into this now, but
Oh.
I love the smell and even the taste of mushrooms. I think they smell and taste amazing, especially when you come downstairs and, you know, either your missus, your mum, your dad, whoever, is in the oven, like, in the kitchen, and that if you're frying mushrooms in butter, oh my life, like, the smell is incredible, but the texture of them, honestly, I can't live with it. It's like eating slugs.
Yeah, I just don't like the texture at all. I'm a very fussy eater. I mean, it does smell absolutely divine, but I'm a very fussy. Maybe if you had a bit of butter, had a bit of garlic, maybe that'd make it a bit more tolerable, because garlic makes everything better.
Or you could deep fry them, make them crunchy on the outside.
That could work as well, although I don't think deep fried mushrooms are something that has ever been made and never should be made.
I think you can do them, but they're a bit more whole than sort of like cut up mushrooms.
So this is why we need Scott McFall or Peter Mackay to tell us, the home of deep frying things. They would know if you can deep fry mushrooms. Good to see plenty of people involved in the chat. Bart Daleman, good to see him there, wishing luck to all the drivers. Martin Deckens as well. We've got a good fight here as well. Let's not forget the race is still continuing in the background while we have our many, many debates. I mean...
Sorry, at that very moment where you stopped there, I just grabbed a massive mouthful of Oreos, and I'm talking like 2 at once.
2 at once? Wow.
Big gob.
Doubling up on the Oreos. You're not going to, I mean, what I like to do is I like to sort of separate 2 of them and then merge them together into one giant Oreo.
Now, you see, the company behind Oreo have actually have stopped you having to do that now, because you can get double cream Oreos.
I know, but it's not as fun.
No, I know.
I like doing it myself.
Yeah.
It's like when you go. It's like when you have the option of, do you want to, do you want all you can eat, but we give it to you, or do you want all you can eat and you go up there and you get it yourself?
Oh yeah,
because I want that.
Yeah, if I don't want somebody to give me 5 burgers on one plate and then look at me in a judging way. I want to walk up there and do it myself and then burn them off on the way back.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
sorry,
there's nothing better, is it, than a buffet?
Oh, I love an all you can eat. We have gone off topic again, I'm afraid.
We do like doing that, yeah.
We are good at that as well. Listen to the fuel saving there. We're an hour into this race then, the 12 hours of Spa Francorchamps here in the DynamiXX Racing Simulators Endurance Series on Simracersworld TV. Olivier Bultink and Sim District GT3 by Vibe BMS Esports are on their way to the championship at the moment. After an hour of racing, they lead the way from Christoph Rice in the Flemish SimSports Lamborghini. Currently 4th in the standings, but looking to improve that in this final round with the double points. Bavo Follin in 3rd place at the moment. Only half a second, though, for Decimo BE, ahead of Dynamics Pink, who are keeping them honest after gaining 3 places from the start. Peter Lemkin's having a bit of a lonely race right now in the RP Motorsport Verde car, although I say that, Jeremy de Bova not too far behind them in the Challenge by DB car. That is another car that hasn't had the smoothest of sailing seasons, it has to be said. But then again, they are still 5th and 6 points behind Flemish, so they could be in the running if something happens further on. John Bruins is next up in the Sim District by BMS Esport NL car, and it's a real shame about that car, isn't it, Ed? Because they were going so well in the early running.
Yeah, really, really well. But that one mistake through Blanchimont is a lot further down the order than they were hoping. 3 positions down from their qualifying performance, though, which does show that they weren't quite on it right the way forward at the start of the evening in qualifying. But the race pace is very good, bodes well for a charge back up through the field. So don't count them out just yet from the race, Chaz.
That's it. It can all change very, very quickly in races like this as well. I mean, you and I have both seen it all season, to be honest with you.
Oh, yeah, 100%. You can see it so many times. Drivers get off to a bad start, but climb back up through the field, especially now considering it's not a 6-hour affair, but 12 hours. So there's plenty of time for drivers to make up a little bit of ground here and there as the race progresses. We're seeing further down as well, Navarro de Bova in the other McChallenge by DB car, currently in 8th position. In his own little bubble, a lot of these cars further down the order, aren't they, Chaz? It starts to expand a little bit, but the racing is still close as ever between Bavo Follon and Yagizoglu. They're still nose to tail at this stage.
Yeah, they are indeed, and they still continue to battle as, Niles de Kuiper has had a moment coming down out of Pouon. That is not the place to have a moment, to say the least. Very scary place to have that. We'll have a quick look at what happened. This was earlier, so clearly Niles has had a few offs, and this was another one. Sorry, Niles. Not doing any the best justice here, but look, again, just the back end coming round on that Lamborghini. So easy to do that when they're mid-engine cars. You know, it does switch around really quickly on you, doesn't it?
Really, really does. I mean, Pouon, I remember doing a few laps in the Lamborghini when it first was brought onto the iRacing service at Spa, because I thought it was the best circuit to try and get to grips with the car. But down through Pouon, it was always so nervous. The rear end constantly wanting to try and step out at any given opportunity, because obviously the elevation change, it likes to play with the balance of the car and make it that little bit extra fighty on you as you're turning into the corner. So it's definitely not a difficult mistake to make, let's put it that way. But we've got another incident and again that rear end just not wanting to play ball. They've got a pretty loose setup by the looks of things, and it's not working out for them.
No, neither of these trees for our camera helicopter either, to be honest. But no, it's one of those moments in the Lambo. Once you do overheat the rears and you do lose a bit of grip from the back end, it can be an absolute pig. And it's the same with the Audi as well. You know, with them being mid-engined, they can just break away so easily once you have a little moment. And as soon as the tyres are gone, they're just... it doesn't feel like they'll ever come back again, does it? It can be a real nightmare.
It's the same. I was doing a few laps at Silverstone in the Aston Martin, the GT4, and it's as soon as you do get a little bit of too much heat into those rear tyres, it is an absolute nightmare. You need to basically baby them for the next lap completely all the way through to get the tyres back down to the areas where you can properly push them and be safer without, you know, getting into that vicious cycle of more heat causes more sliding, causes more heat, causes more sliding, until you find yourself facing backwards. So I definitely have the utmost sympathy for the Kuiper there with those incidents. It's so easily done. As very well done from Tim Thijs Vandenberg, getting well out of the way of the battle for P3 with a nice clean car now, been able to get it fixed with a fast repair at the last round of pit stops.
Yeah, after that big hit earlier on, you really need stuff like that repairing. I mean, let's face it, it was the rear wing on that Porsche, and that rear wing is so big for a reason on that car. It really needs the downforce to help put it into the road. It's got the weight of the engine there, of course, to go with it, but because of how the weight is on the back of that car, you really need the wing to stabilise it. And I mean, it is a hell of a race car. It's always been an incredible all-rounder. the Porsche 911 GT3R. Every iteration of it has been a wonder. The older RSR, I think it was the 996 version of the car. Absolutely glorious thing. Absolutely insanely good looking car. And now, of course, the RSR is referred to as the GTE car that Porsche currently make, but not for much longer, to be honest, Ed. And you know what? I like GTE cars, but they're too similar to GT3 in my opinion. And obviously, without going into the money aspect and the politics behind it all, I always just wondered why not just have GT3s, and it seems like the world is going back that way, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just GT3s. They're just better. I can't say it any other way. They're just better than GTs, in my opinion. I much prefer watching them and driving them in the sim. They're so fun to race with. You can race a lot harder as well because of the ABS, the traction control, all this, that, and the other helps out wonderfully. Matty Draycott in the YouTube chat talking about this car, the Lamborghini, an absolute symphony to listen to, and we were talking about the RSR. I mean,
oh yeah,
if the Lamborghini is a symphony, the RSR is a rock concert.
Oh yeah, it is a rock concert turned up to 11. Like the Porsche 911 RSR, unbelievable sounding thing. When they brought out the 991.2 with the shortened exhaust out of the rear, basically the exhaust didn't even sort of do what it does in these cars. I mean, if you look at the back of the Porsche, as we will do just now, you can see the exhaust sort of runs down from the sides and then comes into the middle. I'm pretty sure that on the RSR it was just an even shorter exhaust and it was smaller in diameter, so there was a higher pressure going through it, and all of the noise that came out of it was just forced out of that car so hard that it was on such a tiny length of exhaust that it was just like it was straight out the engine. You may as well just had a tiny straight pipe. It was incredible.
A sort-off shotgun of an exhaust, wasn't it? An absolutely beautiful sounding car, though, nevertheless. You could hear everything that engine was doing. It was a wonderful, wonderful treat for the ears.
It's
I think it's one of the only sort of, I guess, I don't know what we call victims, I guess, of the fallout from the GTEs and the fact that you won't be able to hear that RSR bounding away on the track. I mean, there's still some very lovely sounding GT3s, but I definitely think the only thing that GTEs had going for them was the better sound. However, this Porsche is
it's great, isn't it?
It can easily make you forget about the GTEs, doesn't it, when you're on board?
Oh yeah, love the noise.
The other thing that I was going to say is if we go onto one of these I think gearbox cameras, especially on the Lamborghini, you can hear it, but even so on the Porsche. Listen to it now. It picks up the throttle.
Does sound good. Does sound very good indeed. But yeah, you're right. You know, if we go on board with the Flemish Sim Sports Lamborghini, you'll hear the pops and bangs on the downshift and on the upshifts. Oh. Like iRacing sort of made very soft sounding sort of gear shift sounds for the Audis when they first did the 5.2 litre V10 unit in the back of it. But then on the Lamborghini, they just went so much more aggressive with the pops and bangs. They've done it on more of the recent cars as well. Even the Aston Martin Vantage, you know, the GT4 car, that makes a hell of a noise, doesn't it, when you're changing down? That does a bit of a pop and a crackle here and there. And it is something that iRacing are always working on, you know. It's, again, there's so many cars and so many different aspects to the sim that they do an incredible amount of work for the amount of people that they have working for them, you know. And I think with how well the sim runs, how well it looks, and how well it broadcasts as well for people like us, they do provide a hell of a sim. And I think sometimes people get a little bit lost in the fact that, oh, this car's got this wrong with it, this car's got that wrong with it. You know, if you were trying to balance all that at once, then you'd realise how difficult it is, to be honest with them. So I always give a bit of a hats off to iRacing for such an amazing sim, and we do it again now because at the end of the day, without them, we wouldn't be able to have Simracersworld TV.
Yeah, definitely. I'm in the same boat as you. I do think iRacing gets a little bit too much grief. I mean, they definitely don't get it right 100% of the time, but more often than not, they are absolutely on it when it comes to the cars they provide, just the general service they provide. But maybe I'm being a bit nicer because I've not paid my iRacing subscription in quite a while. I do it all in a year. So as soon as that year comes to an end and that money comes out of my bank account and I realise how much I'm spending on it, maybe I'll be less complimentary. But for now, love it. Love iRacing.
And so do all of our drivers, teams, competitors, league organisers, everybody.
I mean, yeah, Marcus just saying in the chat, tried to leave it for so many years, but he just can't. As is, like he says, I mean, I completely agree with you, Marcus. There is nothing else like it. I mean, there are sims that are trying to compete, but trying is the key word. They're not able to match iRacing for the service that they provide, the way you can organize leagues so easily. You can broadcast it a lot easier than various other sims. For us commentators, that's a huge help. If ever you try and broadcast something like Assetto Corsa, like Competizione, it's like a NASA operation. Honestly, you've got to have so many different things operating in the background. It can be a huge pain in the backside, whereas iRacing, it's just, right, you can watch it, get a bit of software going, and you're golden pretty much.
Oh yeah, and we can't downplay either how amazing SDK is. The software that we use for this is just absolutely phenomenal. I absolutely love it. But yeah, there's certain elements. Every sim's got its own positives and negatives for sure. I think Assetto Corsa Competizione looks amazing. Assetto Corsa on its own with the decent soul mods and things like that, they can look absolutely photorealistic. Like, it's incredible. You can still tell a lot of the time that iRacing is a sim. It's not real life racing, but they do a very good job of keeping it looking natural. As Peter Lemkens comes into the pits, very intriguing. We'll have to keep our eye on how they do when they come back out. But iRacing, the cars may not always be as up to date as other sims. Things might not be as customizable as they are on something like R Factor 2, for example. But they all have their positives and negatives. And I think for me, I've always been on iRacing first. Maybe that sort of weighs in as to why I'm on it more than the others. I don't know, but I've just always found iRacing to be the most realistic in terms of the racing. It's not something you can explain with words, really, but just the racing itself is more realistic for me. And I just find that so much better to watch and to be a part of, and the way that the leagues are, the way it's scrutinised. It's like it's automatically all scrutineered to be the same. There's no way of cheating it. It's great.
Yeah, and I think the thing that you've mentioned as well in previous broadcasts is the way that the cars move about realistically as well, in terms of the way iRacing operates at a slight delay, but that allows it to calculate all of the suspension movements. Everything that you're seeing on track is essentially what the drivers are seeing, and it's amazing that they can get it to work out. I mean, just look at this. You can see, look at that rear tyre. Well, imagine the suspension doing its absolute best. It's hardest to try and keep it going. You're going to see it as well through the French chicanes now. Look at that. The front end compressing down, the rear lifting up under the brakes. It is really great to see, and there aren't really any other sims that do it quite like iRace in terms of the carb movement. I think that's what you're saying. It looks, and the racing looks so realistic compared to, I think, a few other sims. I mean, Assetto Corsa, when there's any amount of input latency or anything like connection lag, cars can do very strange things. I've seen times where cars are going backwards through corners at hundreds of kilometers an hour because there's delay in latency, and the sim doesn't quite know what to do with it, so it just thinks, we're going to put the model of the car there but not rotate it at all.
It's very odd sometimes how they deal with it. Even iRacing's way of blinking the cars in and out when the connection's not stable, it doesn't make the car fly around and crash into everything. It just goes, no, you're not stable, you're not a trustworthy connection right now. We'll make you disappear for a minute while you sort that out, and then we'll bring you back when it's stable and when it's safe for everyone else. And that's one of the best ways to do it. One thing I want people to do, if you are watching on a computer or a laptop at home, and if you are not watching on a TV, if you're sat on the sofa watching on TV, then you might not be able to sort of take part in this bit, but we're going to make this interactive. I want you to do this as well, Ed, unless you've got a very shiny screen at home, but either put like a pen or your finger or whatever on your monitor right where that Dynamics pink car is now. And you will soon realise, if you follow that car around the screen, put your finger in the middle, you will soon realise how much that car moves around on the screen. It's never perfectly in the middle. It's what we call camera dampening, and iRacing does it so well that it looks like the camera is being operated by a person. You know what I mean? It's like a natural camera dampening. It's not something you can always pick up with your eyes, but when you put your finger on the screen and you see how much that car moves around in shot, that makes such a difference to how these things are broadcasted compared to other sims that are on the market, which fix completely in the middle of the screen and have the car perfectly sat there.
Yeah, I mean, you see it a lot, especially into these sorts of corners. On corner exit, in these tight twisty bits, it is visible for all to see. I mean, it is wonderful, isn't it? They do feel like proper broadcast cameras, and there are even more places that you can use on iRacing to get bespoke track cameras, aren't there, that you can get to look even closer to the real deal, which is wonderful. Simracersworld TV. Chaz is getting nerdy now, but I mean, we're all nerds here. With sim racing, you can't, play it off sim racing as if it's, cool and trendy, not, a little bit geeky, a little bit nerdy, and that's why I love it, to be fair. It's brilliant.
I'm the same, mate. To do all of this broadcasting and stuff, to be able to be in a position to broadcast and do all this, it's great, but you have to have a lot of technical knowledge to be able to put it all together, know how everything works and learn it all. And I always say that about PC gaming in general, that it can be a massive pain in the backside, but once you get it all set up and once you get everything right and it's working, it is so amazing. It's one of the best things I've ever, it's one of the best things in my life. I've never ever sort of stuck with something and enjoyed it as much as I do PC gaming and the work and everything. Oh my God, Ian in the chat. Everybody, can we get some clap emojis in chat for Ian Roots, everybody, of Simracersworld and Simracersworld TV, the man himself that has not only just started the community years ago, but of course Simracersworld TV as well, and has got us all to where we are now. Everyone get some clap emojis in that chat, please, because if there's anyone that deserves it right now, it's Ian. Hope you're well, mate. Hope you're doing all right. Kemal Yagazoglu then, 4th place at the moment. Still just about in touching distance of Bavo Follen here, actually, at this point, Ed. And they're not really separating, but they're not catching up with this man, Christoph Rice. He's just continuing to move forward.
He is. He's motoring along, is Christoph Rice, and looking at the time deficit, it's sort of changing here and there, but it's definitely not increasing the way that Olivier Bultink would be hoping for. Yeah, Ian Roots, good to see him in the chat. Mr. Simracersworld himself. Wonderful, wonderful stuff. Hopefully he's keeping well. Yes, he is. Very well. Life is good. Wonderful to hear that, Ian. Really, really glad about that, because, I mean, if anyone deserves to have a good time of things, it's you, mate. It's been absolutely wonderful being a part of Simracersworld TV, and glad to have you here for the final broadcast. The boss man himself.
And to be fair, actually, I must say out loud, I've been following Ian on Instagram on his ventures recently. He's got into his flight sims, and he's been on Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. Other flight sims are available, and he's been doing a round-the-world trip, so hopping from airport to airport in different aircraft. I think so far he's used Airbus A320s, Neos, and A330s. Other aircraft are available, just don't get a Boeing 737 MAX. And it's been great fun to watch it, and he's been streaming some of them as well and recording them and so on, and he's just made me want to get even more into commercial flight sims, because I love my commercial aircraft, but with the amount of stuff I have on my PC for my media work, I don't have room for a big flight sim. Anyway, it's Porsche Sport getting sentimental again. The amount of crying that Luke's doing, I imagine his eyes are killing him by now, but either way, we digress. Jens Goosen's just inside the top 10 here. Dirk Bouts is back out on circuit, but that RP Audi in twice now so far. We'll show you on the left hand side. You can see a bunch of cars have stopped twice so far in this one.
I think through incidents, because let's not forget that Bouts was one of the cars that had that moment, or a moment rather, through Longchamp.
Very true, mate. One thing I do want to try playing with is this wonderful thing. We can show the stint length between certain cars. And there, look, you can see the difference in laps. So Bultink went 27 laps on that first run. Christoph Rice went 25 laps in their first stint. And then Bavo Follen was in the middle on 26. That will develop as the race goes on, and we'll be able to tell how many laps they've done bit by bit. But I think that's a good graphic to have right now. I think that's been a good addition. I did think about how I could sort of update and change things on our SDK project, as we call it, in the background, so that we can bring you guys graphics. But I think that makes it a little bit better, because once the drivers pit again, we get shown on our timing screen what lap they've pitted. But once they pit another time, it just tells you the most recent lap. So we can't see the pit stops before that. But that now means that we know.
Yeah, we can't obviously see the development, can we, of the strategy if drivers have been going longer on the most recent stops, if they've been short on the most recent stops. So it is brilliant to see the strategy basically visible for us, and we might not feel the full effects of it in the first 3 hours, but definitely I'll be very glad to see it as I'm in for the final 3. That is for certain. Barrow full on, as we see, just coming through Blanchimont. Such a tricky corner to get right, especially in these Porsches with the weight and the engine in the wrong place. It's so easy to have the car swap ends through those high-speed full commitment corners. And there we see the absolute mess that is the stint length from 6th down to 10th. So many different pit stops because of obviously having to come in at different times due to damage.
Yeah, it really shows you how it changes, doesn't it? I mean, look at that, 6 laps there from Nels de Kuiper before his most recent run. So obviously something wasn't quite right with the car. They brought it in. John Bruins here did 19 laps and is currently on his 18th lap stint. But that was when he had his incident, wasn't it, through Blanchimont. So it really does show you how that can change. Jens Goossens had an incident early on. Dirk Bouts took over in the RP car as well. So it really does give you a very visual look into how it changes. And I think that's a really, really useful thing to have. I'll say it again. But still, we are 1.5 hours pretty much in this race. Or 1.5 hours done, I should say, through this race. Plenty left to go in the tank. And, well, Nels de Kuiper has not got anything left in the tank now because he's just had an accident.
Let's have a look. Oh, through Speaker's Corner into the Armco barrier. Big heavy hit on that left-hand side. And I think, has that car already had damage to repair?
I think they did they not, earlier on?
I know it was one of the Zenom cars that was able to escape the worst of the incident earlier on. I think, yeah, that's their 3rd trip into the pit. So I would imagine that they will have to wait a long time to repair that damage, especially if it's suspension damage, because that can be an absolute pain in the backside to try and fix. Speaking of pain in the backside, a consistent pain in Olivier Bolting's backside has been and will continue, I think, to be Christoph Reis, who just last lap was a few tenths faster. Dropped back a little bit now because of cars up ahead. That is the McChallenge by DB car. Kurt Van Hoenacker being lapped by P2, which has slowed down Christoph Reis's attempted charge up to P1. Does leave us wondering what could have been though, Chaz. I mean, this pace from Christoph has been absolutely immense. If it wasn't for that mistake down through Pouon, what would we be seeing up in front? Because they are so closely matched.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, to be honest, the pace has been very, very solid from both of them, but the gap has stayed around 10 to 11 seconds as... Is it Yves Fredericks has just taken over from Nels de Kuiper, sorry. It just said Yves Fredericks has been off and then jumped to the pits, but sometimes in our software when the drivers change, then it basically means that it just shows that they are the one that's been off. But yeah, these two at the front, you know, very, very close on pace, and I'm intrigued to see who blinks first and how the pit stop strategy can shake things up. Now, I'll sort of make a bit of a speculation here that we will probably get a lot of calls to go on board with the Flemish Sim Sports car, because Ed and I are just going to have a quick 5-minute break here on Simracersworld TV. So we will leave you with the wonderful sounds of the 5.2 litre V10 in the Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo of Flemish Sim Sports. We'll see you in a few minutes, everybody. Hello again, everybody. Chaz, Draycott and Ed May here for the final race meeting in the DynamiXX Racing Simulators Endurance Series and the final ever broadcasted event here on Simracersworld TV. So far, we have Sim District GT3 by Vibe BMS Esports leading the way, and the championship, Christoph Rice in second place, is not letting them get too far away. He's actually closed in a little bit over the last couple of laps. Bavo followed in third place, so he's now 16 seconds back from the lead pair of Lamborghinis. Marcus believes that his farming sim just crashed. No, I can't play farming sim while broadcasting, unfortunately. If I could, then I probably would, knowing me, but do love a bit of farming sim. Been obsessed with it recently. But we have a fantastic race going on here, Ed. Still, cars not too spread out, to be honest with you. The field actually filling Spa quite nicely, considering that as of this moment we actually have 10 cars running.
Yeah, it is. I mean, last time Ed goes for number 2 on the SRW broadcast is the chat from Porsche Sport, but I don't know. I'm in the comments box another time. I don't know. I'm not going to tell you everything about my bathroom habits, but there's still an opportunity there, Porsche Sport. You never know. Never say never.
One thing I've always been told while broadcasting is never have anything dairy. Now, my good mate Paul Smith, who of course commentates on a lot of the iRacing World Championship events and Porsche Esports Super Cup, for example, the Tag Heuer Porsche Esports Super Cup, he always told me never have dairy before a broadcast. And there was one night where I tried just to annoy him by having a 4-cheese pizza and a massive bottle of milkshake. But right now I have, what are these? Unbranded tortilla chips, let's call them, with a very strong cheese dip, and it's wonderful. And I've actually hidden it quite well off broadcast, I think, so far. I've been crunching and munching away and no one's noticed. Then again, to be fair, Ed did trip me up earlier and asked me a question as soon as I took a bite of 2 Oreos at once, but then again, yeah. Still, we have... Oh, hello, that sounded fantastic then. I don't know if you had the same sound effect come through at your end there, Ed, but one of the Porsches, I think Sam Putterville's, sounded absolutely brilliant. It was like some sort of anti-lag going on.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I was on the same camera angle as you. I didn't quite hear all that, but I mean, it's a wonderful way that iRacing is able to make all of the wonderful sounds it does for us. It's what I love as well is about different camera angles. It gets that sort of Doppler effect, doesn't it? The way the sound changes pitch as it comes closer, as it comes further away. All these different calculations that the sim does in behind to immerse you into it, even though it isn't the prettiest looking, it does so much more than just the graphics. Yeah, that's the thing as well. People forget that the sim is not just about, or what is the physics like, what is the graphics like. There's so many different things that go into making a sim as good as it can be. Yeah, definitely. You know, it's easy to overlook a lot of it sometimes, isn't it? In terms of the different elements that make up a good-looking sim or an immersive sim. And, you know, I think there's certain sims that have fantastic car noises inside the car. You know, the cockpit sounds are just amazing on some of them, where you hear little stones and tiny things hit up against the underside of the car as well. But, yeah, I think iRacing excels in other areas. Like you say, that Doppler effect is really, really good in iRacing. The sounds in terms of their relative positions of the cameras are just brilliant. The way it picks it up, the way you can even change the gain on the microphones per camera that you put around the circuit as well. The camera tool itself, you know, the customization that you can have with it, because it's all done in numbers. You can measure things and you can have them, like, you can replicate things again. You know, you can have the same camera angle for each car by replicating it because you use the numbers. You know, you type things in for it. Other sims and other cameras they just don't have that, unfortunately, and I think that's one place where iRacing really excels. Someone else sorry, go on. I was about to say, on the thing about cameras, I've had the joy of various series that I've commentated on use sort of custom camera packs, and one of them was using cameras that was sort of reminiscent, or at least based off of cameras used at Silverstone for Formula 1, in the same camera positions, the same angles. Yeah. Everything that was used at the Formula 1 was replicated in iRacing, and some of those angles, they were absolutely marvellous. So I'd say hats off to not just iRacing for allowing us to put about with the cameras, but also the wider community for being able to make the most of it, which is the other thing about iRacing is that there's such a big community that they really do make the most of what the sim gives them.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, I love making camera packs. I think that the customization of it is great, and I enjoy sort of making my own angles. As, ooh, Olivier Bultic doing more fuel saving there. Even more of it. We unfortunately have lost the Porsche Sport entry from the race now. It was confirmed a while ago, I think, but just to reiterate that. Zenom Esports 2 and Team Tice are in the pits, and so too are Sim District by BMS Esport NL. Now, we'll have a look at their stints so far. 25 to sort of 27 laps is what people have been doing on a tank, so you know they have done the sort of stint length that we would have expected. It's just that they are out of sync now. If you look at that compared to the cars that are behind them, you can see those 25 blocks. You know, drivers are able to do as many laps as you'd expect, but it does sort of just it doesn't overlap very in a pretty way, does it? To be honest with any of them.
There are a few teams that have been able to extend them. I mean, Boltink in that Sid District Lamborghini have been able to somehow churn out 27 lap stints, if you can believe it, which is certainly amazing to see. However, these next stints, it should be easier, I think, for the likes of Rise and Fallon to extend their stint an extra lap because they didn't have the extra time, you know, the pace lap. Whereas they just come out of the pits essentially after La Source. It saves them a little bit of time, maybe, you know, 0.2 of a lap's worth of fuel, but that can really make all the difference if you're able to extend the stint or not.
Yeah, it's tough around here as well, especially with it being such a long lap at Spa Francorchamps. You know, you use so much fuel as well because it's such a high-speed circuit. You are flat out for so long around here. Not only the Kemmel Straight, but also up here towards Blanchimont as well. And it looks like
there's a bit of smoke there.
Yeah, that is the Decimo car. Decimo BE, Bavo Fallon, has gone off the road here. I'm not sure if he's hit anything. There's a bit of damage on the car by the look of it. Front end and front right looks a bit crumpled, and he is coming in. Now that changes things big time in the championship for these guys. Let's have a look. Oh, he snapped it, and wow, it's a big hit. Wow, the damage on that car really did not represent the hit that it had into the wall. But that is the car that is currently third in the championship, and they are in the pits with severe damage, I imagine. I think that's just an effect where it doesn't look as bad as it is. But wow, oh wow. That certainly changed things up now.
Yeah, that was huge incident. Bavo Fallon fell off the circuit, unfortunately. Big incident through Blanchimont that we've seen time and time again as Hans Damians now gets behind the wheel of the 451 in the pits. They're going to go onto the jackets and take tyres, I'm certain, as well. That is going to give Yagazoglu a bit of hope for this race, especially considering that they were off track in terms of making it till the end of the race without a splash and dash. That's all but confirmed. Decimo.be will need to make one extra pit stop come the end of the race because they came in well before the 2-hour mark, Chaz. 15 minutes earlier than expected.
Yeah, big change. And that is going to potentially affect things in the championship as well. So we'll have to see how that works out because, you know, in these races you always sort of work towards the end and know that you might have to do either a splash and dash or just have a full service in the last pit stop. And it's not often that you get the latter. You know, you usually have to do a splash and dash, and it's how you manage that. Maybe try and get rid of the fact you have to do that in the first place. And I'm intrigued to see if any of these teams with these incidents might have to do one stop less further down the line, but it's how they then overcome the time they've lost because of the incident, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. It's all about trying to, if you are put in a bad position, trying to make the best of that bad situation, try and have the ripple effect of a mistake or an incident earlier on in the race. I guess diminish it as best as you can, be it with the strategy, be it with maybe even tyre plans. If you're running a bit of damage, maybe that affects how the tyres are being used. See what you can do in terms of the fuel as well, because if you have any sort of front end damage, any sort of damage that affects your straight line speed, that really hampers your ability to save the fuel, because iRacing manages the fuel on throttle position. You're flat out on the straights for a lot longer because of that that rather more diminished straight line speed. It means that you're using more fuel to compensate. Thankfully, we aren't seeing many drivers running about with battered and bruised cars, but that is something to think about, because it is still early days in the race. Not even 2 hours gone, already many drivers have fallen victim to the unforgiving Spa Francorchamps circuit.
Yeah, and again, it just comes as part of this circuit being, you know, it's so famous for so many reasons, but it's so notorious as well for being a difficult track to race on. And I think these guys are, you know, no disrespect to them, because I couldn't do it, but they are proving that slightly at the minute, aren't they, with the performances that we're seeing. You know, there's certain drivers and teams making mistakes and having those moments, but you can't blame them. You know, it's not easy to do. It's not easy to do at all around this place.
No, definitely not. And we're seeing now that Hans Damiens is back out on circuit. You can just see him there exiting the chicane in behind Jens Goossens, keeping the eyes open for the pace that's coming through. The gap was around about 7.5 seconds. It's now just about 7 seconds. So Jens is getting caught by the Decimo.BE car. We might expect Jens to come into the pits before these two start to battle. Trying to figure out when Jens last came into the pits, lap 26. So you'd expect him to come in within the next 10 or so minutes. Might not get to see the battle between Hans Damiens and Jens Goossens just yet, Chaz.
No, it's one of those where I think over time, if the pace is different enough, we will just get to see it anyway. But I mean, this is again one of the interesting parts of having these races. You know, you never know exactly how they're going to plan out because of the pit stops. They can change things so much, and it's why we love it at the end of the day. It's why we love what we do, and we get to enjoy every moment of these races by being able to broadcast them for you. The gap between the two leaders is still about 10.6, 10.7 seconds. So Olivier's not flying away, but I have the feeling he's saving more fuel than Flemish Simrasports right now, and just extending that stint lap after lap, time and time again.
Yeah, I'm wondering that too. Flemish Simrasports came in on lap 25. They came in fairly early, didn't they, Chaz? And Sim District did the opposite. They extended the stint past what is, I suppose, the ideal, the 26 lap stint, because that clearly sees you through an entire hour's worth of running. And maybe Flemish Simrasports will, maybe they're also trying to save fuel as well. We're not really seeing much of Christoph Reis at this stage of the race. As well, let's not forget that the gap has been increasing and decreasing depending on back market traffic. There isn't too much of it to worry about for the drivers this evening on account of there being 12 drivers currently on circuit. Would have been 13, but Porsche Sport obviously early retirement from successive incidents through that corner we just passed, Blanchimont, that was so unforgiving. It's been tricky for every car as well. Chaz usually would say, oh, one car really struggles with that corner, but every single car, I think, has had a moment through there, be it Lamborghini, be it Porsche, be it Audi.
Yeah, we've seen a number of them, haven't we, that have really sort of fallen by the wayside. And like you mentioned there, it's not always the same cars either. You know, it's one of each sort of type of these vehicles that we get to watch. I'm just having a quick look now, by the way, because I've just wondered what is going on with the RP car, because Dirk Bouts in the Audi, we've listed him as RP Motorsport Azul. Now what this does is it picks up the team name off the driver, so he obviously drove for one of the other teams or one of the other RP Motorsport cars before, and now he's changed over to the Verde one, which is this one, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it might have been. Yeah, I think they've obviously changed drivers. They've consolidated what was RP Motorsport Verde and Azul into basically one entry, I think, for this final race to basically make sure they have the drivers, I think, Chaz, because it is so difficult for these teams that run two cars. I mean, I'm amazed that Sim District GT3 were able to continue as two separate entries. I thought we would have seen some of the Audi drivers maybe jump into the Lamborghini to help out in the final round, but no, they've been able to keep two entries going. Same as well with the DynamiXX car. It's so difficult to balance two drivers over the course of 12 hours of racing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just shows you how strong some of the teams are, to have that many drivers in, it's great. And when you are part of a team like that, you have this sort of found confidence in the fact that, there's so many people there to support you, and it's great to see that there are more and more teams sort of arriving on the scene in sim racing that do continue to bring more and more drivers in. And I think really there's going to be a lot more confidence just shared throughout an entire field because of that, and it's wonderful, really, really wonderful, because it's an element that people don't always think about. There's always a sort of a bit of this guy's in this team and this guy's in that team, but some teams are not bothered by that, others are. Some think it's a big taboo if you're in one team and you go and race for another. It just depends. I mean, we're all friends in sim racing. Some people don't get on. I'll contradict myself straight off the bat, but sometimes you just got to enjoy it for the fact that it is the hobby. It is for some people it's a job, but the fact that there are teams that are all friendly with one another and teams that can have maybe inter-team rivalries. We've seen a number of Dynamics cars out there this season. We've had Dynamics Racing Pink, Dynamics Racing Red, and Dynamics Bellspeed as well. Those guys have all had a lot of great racing between themselves, but unfortunately we don't have all of them with us for this one.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that we've seen the numbers start to drop off. I think that has, of course, been part of the sort of, length of the race. It might have scared a few drivers off, and of course, the fact that the iRacing Nürburgring 24 Hours is ongoing this weekend, and maybe as well people are busy at the weekend now that the real-life motorsport season is kicking into full swing. We are seeing plenty of drivers using both sim racing and real-life racing to occupy their weekends, and sometimes, Chaz, I'm sure you're very well aware those commitments can sometimes clash.
Yeah, they can do. It's just part of real life comes first. We always say it and we always will, that at the end of the day, for most people, this is just a hobby. I say just a hobby. I don't mean to undermine it, but you have to consider that there are other things in life that may come ahead of this. I've raced in a few leagues now for quite a while, and I always have to concede that sometimes I might not be home in time from certain events, or I might not be about to do this, or I might not be about to do that, and it's just how it is. That's life. You're never always going to be able to do every single thing that you want to do, but it's just how you go about managing that and enjoying what you can. And I think sim racing is a prime example.
Yeah, I definitely think me and you, Chaz, have been put in a privileged position, being able to enjoy it, almost essentially start to make careers, or in your case definitely make a career from your hobby, which is absolutely brilliant for us. I mean, never a dull moment, is it, when you're commentating on sim racing, or in your case real life racing, as we see coming out of the pits just ahead of Olivier Bolton, going to slot in behind the Challenge DB car. That is Vijay de Vlaming slotting in behind, pitting a little bit earlier but not massively. Definitely a chance to save a bit of fuel in the future for that car, maybe making it to the end without a splash and dash. It's not all over yet for them, but definitely putting them slightly behind the drivers they were racing with. Don't forget that car was in P4, just ahead of Hans Damians, who pitted earlier on this race because of damage accrued through Blanchimont. I mean, that's going to be a sentence we're going to say more than a few times this evening, Chaz. Cars put off of sync because of damage they got through Blanchimont.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen the last car to go off at Blanchimont throughout this race, unfortunately. But that's just how it is. That's just part of the circuit, part of the challenge of being here. And I think really we're going to have a number of drivers that will, they won't have any big dramas through there. Sometimes you can get a bit lucky, and sometimes you can have just a slight slide and just have a spin and not hit anything. But if you can go through there and hit something, and if you can go through there and not hit something, then hats off to you, because it means that you're on a quite a lucky streak, I'd have to say.
Yeah, 100%. It's all about. I mean, you did mention lucky streak. I do think sometimes you make your own luck in these events. It's all about keeping the car on the island and trying to benefit from any situation that can come through. I mean, it's 12 hours of racing. We're approaching the 2-hour mark. There's just 10 to go. Just 10. Makes it sound like there isn't much, but I can tell you when you are in the car, it can feel like a long time, especially if it is just the pair of you sharing duties. Just watching though, Olivier Botsink really does seem to be putting the foot flat to the floor, quick time after quick time, but not really extending the gap too much to Christoph Reis. I mean, the gap is now 12 seconds from being 10.2, but as I say that, I think Christoph Reis has dropped back quite a lot. Something happened to him there, because it now says 20 seconds.
Yeah, that's a weird one.
I think something's happened because he's coming to the pits.
Yeah, that is definitely... Doesn't look like there's any damage on it. Let's have a look. Ah, that'll be it. Oh, well, what did I say about going through there and not hitting something? Oh, God.
Oh.
Oh, my word. Well, that's not exactly ideal by Christoph Reis, is it? I mean, we do speculate when people do and don't hold the brakes sometimes in sim racing, but that was certainly not a moment of holding the brakes. But wow, got lucky there. Martin Deckens is in the car now, so
in his defense, I think holding the brakes doesn't work too much when the car's rolling backwards. I think it's a lot easier when the car's rolling forwards. When you hold the brakes, it slows it down more, but when it's rolling backwards, it becomes a lot harder to stop it because the car likes to sort of wiggle about a lot. So that was giving them the benefit of the doubt there. I think they did as much as they could have done. Good awareness, though, of course, from John Bruins, who might have ruined a pair of race overalls from that view that we saw on board, because that was absolutely terrifying.
It was. It really was. Very, very close indeed. And to be honest, I think it's safe to say they got away with that.
Just about, yeah. I mean, it happened just at the end of a stint, so you could tell that they were pushing very, very hard. That has lost them a considerable amount of time, though, hasn't it, compared to the competition? As we say that there is no Dynamics car, but for me it says Dynamics Racing Simulators are in second place in the Lamborghini. Martin Deckens jumping into the Flemish Sim Sports Lambo.
Let's change that. Oh dear. Well, this is the thing, you see. We can't always know who's going to race with who. And these guys, you know, they all get on. They'll get on very, very well indeed. But yeah, I'm going to have to try and find Martin in the details now. But this is it, you know, in a series like this, the guys do allow a number of drivers to sort of race with one another and change teams and so on. It will change now for you. So there you go, Martin Deckens at Flemish Sim Sports. Thankfully. But still, he's a long, long way down now. Thijs Vandenberger has had an issue in the Porsche. Ooh, now that's an interesting one. Oh, that's going to be a big hit. It's not often you see the car snap that way, is it, really, when it goes around like that? But that was a big, big one. And all of a sudden, that car is now looking in jeopardy as well, is it not?
I mean, that was a big, big moment, wasn't it? Just from Thijs Vandenberg to entice the huge snap. But yeah, watching Martin Deckens now, we wait in anticipation, don't we, for Olivier Botsink to come into the pits. Might be this lap, might be the next one. Obviously, the pit stop was a little bit longer as well for Flemish Sim Sports because of the tyre change, which is why that gap is so much bigger than what we've seen before. So I definitely think that Martin Deckens is not out of the fight yet, but it will be a lot harder now on account of that moment through Blanchard. It could have gone a lot worse though, Chaz, because how they kept out of the wall, I do not know. They spent a lot of time going backwards, you know, perpendicular to the track, and credit to them. They kept it clean, which is priority number one, I think, in these endurance races, is keep the car clean. Priority number two is to try and win it.
Well,
so
yeah.
we're going to see what they can do on the second priority for this evening.
Yeah, that's true. Very, very true. I think there's so many elements to this sort of race that I lose train of thought. I'm not going to lie. There's so many elements to it that you have to just be so. I mean, even as commentators, we have to be switched on because there's so much for us to watch. But then other times, the drivers just. They actually usually have the easiest of jobs because they could just crack on with it. Yeah, they could just get on with what they're doing and just enjoy themselves. But I say enjoy themselves, it's hard work, and I never want to downplay that or devalue that. But I think that if you're just focusing on the one car and you're focusing on what you're doing as a team, then brill, absolutely brill. Just good luck, crack on, off you go.
Yeah, 100%. It is all about just trying to, like you said, crack on with it. If you get put in a bad situation, you got to keep your chin up and you just go about your business as best as you can. Speaking of going about the business, we could be seeing these two engage in a bit of business together. The Vlaming and Dirk Bouts. Like he's closing in, was a few tenths quicker last time around. We've seen exit speaker's corner now down towards wheel one. That gap 1.7, 1.8 seconds. Might be seeing a fight on our hands here, Chaz. We do oftentimes see in these endurance races, there's quiet periods, then all of a sudden the racing starts to hot up because there are a few cars getting a little bit close together on the track. The Vlaming trying to close in on Jesse Hendricks, who himself is trying to close in on Hans Damians. Plenty still to play for.
Very, very true. And Dirk Bouts in the Audi right now. Certainly looking quick. I mean, to be completely honest with you, this RP Motorsport team have been quick before. We've seen good pace from them time and time again. Just intrigued to see whether they could turn that into even a podium spot. Some of the teams ahead of them aren't completely out of the question in terms of overtaking them, but it can just depend, can't it, really, on whether they have any sort of problems of their own or whether it just comes down to pace in the end.
Yeah, they did have an issue earlier on, so they can't afford anything more happening to them. They've already taken their fast repair. They are out of sync. They last came into the pits on lap 34. Whereas our race leaders, Olivier Biltink, last came in on lap 27. And I mean, they're extending their stint massively. I'm amazed that they're keeping it going. They should come in on this current lap that they're on now. I would be amazed if they can extend the stint even further. And if they can, maybe we'll even see them try and extend it to avoid a pit stop entirely. Maybe they'll, rather than save a splash and dash, they'll try and save an entire pit stop.
Yeah, I'm wondering now whether... I'm just going to see. Let's have a quick look now at the... We can come back to the pit stop strategies again. Let's just see what it's like between these two. Because you can see there, look, they're pretty much alternating exactly at the moment, aren't they, with the overlap. Javlamen cut 4 places. 24 laps on that previous one. So not a full stint as we've seen of about 25 to 26 laps, but Dirk Bouts also doing 25 laps. So that 9 lap stint that you can see there, that could come back to haunt them a little bit, I reckon.
It certainly might do, but of course, let's not forget the Vlaming also came in a little bit earlier. Now, I think he was hoping for, on that 49, puts him definitely within the realms of needing to take a splash and dash. So it's not all over yet for Dirk Bouts. Just needs to get through this tri-racing Porsche, and then he'll be right up behind that challenge by DB Audi, who himself is actually catching up to Jesse Hendricks in the DynamiXX pink Porsche. So these cars, they're all going to close up together, I think, at roughly the same time, Chaz, and we could be in for a real treat of a battle.
Certainly could. Certainly could. It can all be changed as Olivier Biltink comes into the pit lane. And 2 hours and 7 minutes pretty much done of this race. That's really good going, isn't it? Considering that, I mean, we saw the first pit stop of the race on what lap? Well, not what lap, it was, what, 50? 55 minutes in?
Something like that. Yeah, we saw the first pit stop around correct, about 55 minutes into the race. Scott McFall gets into the Lamborghini that leads this race at the moment.
Does indeed.
Simsport in behind. They lost a lot of time though from that moment through Blanchimont. Doubt that they'll be able to have such a charge to come up through and past our Lamborghini race leaders. You see them come up onto the jacks and take tyres. Didn't take them on the first stop. Will take them on the second. Up they go.
I'll have to keep our eye on how long the stops are, because most of them have been over a minute so far, between a minute 7 and a minute 10. So with the tyres being taken, we might even get that alternating further down the line, mightn't we? You know, teams not taking tyres in certain stops and maybe even just trying to double stint them, but I think it's going to be... Sorry, even triple stint them, apologies. That's going to be very difficult around Spa, though, isn't it? I mean, we've talked about how the tyres really do struggle around here because it's a high-speed circuit. I don't think anybody's going to go through the pits twice without taking tyres.
No, and I mean, triple stinting is going to be so difficult to try and make it work. Ideally, if you want to negate a full tyre basically negate 30 seconds worth of tyre changes, one triple will not be enough. You'll essentially need to do 2 triples if my brain works correctly. Trying to figure out, because if you do 1 triple, you'll do a single stint on 1 set of tyres, whereas if you do 2 triples, you'll not need to do that. You'll just save a complete tyre change.
Yeah, basically.
But that's going to be so difficult. You need to basically commit to it at the halfway point of this race, which I can't imagine many teams or drivers being able to pull off, especially considering the track will still be fairly hot as we approach the midway phase of this race.
Yeah, I think a number of them will want to just play it easy and just, you know, there's no point adding the extra risk at this stage, I don't think. But it depends how much of a risk that turns out to be, but I suppose until you get to that point, you're never really going to know, are you? You're never going to know how much it's going to affect the race. Yeah, and you can't really plan for it. I mean, you can do a little bit of testing here and there, but there's no way teams, I mean, maybe some, you know, top level 10K racing teams will do all massive test sessions where they try triple stinting and double stinting and doing all this in-depth numbers, but at the end of the day, like you said, Chaz, it's a hobby for these people. It's not like there's, you know, hundreds of millions of pounds on the line for them to worry about. This is, you know, at the end of the day, a community race, a sort of almost a fun family affair. And that's the thing about Dynamics in Simracersworld, is that they've really become part of this wider racing family almost, isn't it, with Nevo sort of popping up as well from Simracersworld. It's all still a nice tight-knit community, which I'm really happy to see. Yeah, definitely. You know, I think the community will continue to be just as strong as it is now, and you know, the guys at Dynamics have always been big supporters of it, so I'm excited to see how this carries on, to be honest with you.
And sorry, Porsche Sport, I did spill the beans there. Yeah, there's not a million prize fund, I'm sorry, but you do get one thing that's worth more than that, and that's bragging rights. That's pride. That's worth more than any money, I think. Especially, I mean, you've got the biggest bragging rights of all. You are the Porsche Cup champions for this season, so you know, swings and roundabouts. There's always a silver line in Porsche Sport. Shame that you're not going to be taking further part in this race, but we are more than happy to have you in the YouTube chat. It's great to see so many people as well, Chaz, sticking with Simracersworld TV right until the final broadcast.
Oh yeah, we're very appreciative of all of you. You know, the fantastic support we've always had here on the channel will never die off, I tell you that. We're very, very grateful.
It'll definitely be something I'll definitely always remember. I mean, you were here right from the word go, Chaz. I remember doing the TCR series race as a driver right at the beginning of Simracersworld TV as well. I think that was part of your first ever broadcast on Simracersworld as well.
It was, yeah. It was actually. That was, well, safe to say, a hell of a fun season. A very, very fun season indeed. And I really hope that it continues like that. You know, I've always enjoyed myself with Simracersworld TV on the series we've been covering. This is no exception with this championship. It's a different dynamic to what I normally commentate on. I usually stick around with sprint racing stuff, but this is a completely different kettle of fish, and so is that as Dieter de Vlaeminck throws the Audi up the inside of Jesse Hendricks. And he gets him at Malmedy. Oh, there's a bit of netcode contact though, and Hendricks is pushed wide. That means Dirk Bouts can go through. Well, he witnessed a bit of a bout there, didn't he, between the pair of them. Hendricks looks back down the inside. Runs a little bit deep through Boucher, but Dieter de Vlaeminck makes car 4, P4. That's 5 places gained for de Vlaeminck now. And that will do, I think, is the safe thing to say. Sorry, I just had a bit of a blink in and out there where I couldn't click anything. That's always good fun. But yeah, mega.
I mean, yeah, shame about the netcode, but that was still a brilliant battle between those two drivers going through Les Cornes and Malmedy. Although it's not over yet, Chaz. I mean, Jesse Hendricks has still got something to say to Dirk Bouts about all of this.
No, we went back to a replay, but for some reason it's not showing as a replay.
It seems that our tyre software, I think, has had a little bit of a hiccup with the timing on the left-hand side as well, not updating. Might do with a bit of a bash, a bit of a turn off and on again.
Yeah.
Take it out, blow on it, put it back in is order of the day.
Yeah, the timing screen itself is updating, but for some reason the actual live timing page is not. So apologies for that, everybody. I will try and get that to come back to life again, but as you see now, it has disappeared. I had this issue yesterday, you know. I was testing something out yesterday and it completely went on me. Not quite sure why, but
a lot of it could be, I think, increased demand as well, obviously, with a lot of people racing this weekend. Might be a bit of demand put on SDK servers and iRacing servers in general, which might be causing a few little hiccups here and there. Sadly out of our control, but I think me and you, Chaz, we're gonna do our best to power through it.
Yeah, we will continue pushing on, and yeah, it seems, unfortunately, everybody, like there is nothing at the moment. I will try and do this on a local connection so we can get this working, so you can at least see it at our end. Let's see if I can get this to work here. There we go. We can have it local to the machine at least. Ed, if you want to do that as well, then it should work like this. I will send you a quick link, mate. If you pop that into your live timing, then you should get a local connection at least, so the web page itself. Ah, yeah. Olivier Bulting says his SDK has also stopped. So luckily you can do it locally, so you can base it off your PC. On the right hand side, if you go to the little menu, you'll see links, a link section. If you have, like, bring up what they call the burger menu on the right, there is F1 style overlay and then F1 style overlay local connection, which basically, rather than it putting it back, oh, apparently it is back already anyway, so never mind. But yeah, it basically just takes it straight from your sim rather than the actual web page. But if we now go back, sorry Ed,
that's all right.
So the older
I think everything's working for me still.
Okay.
Just about. Fingers crossed it's holding together. It's the Nürburgring 24 iRacing. How dare they have a special event on the day of the DynamiXX Racing Simulator Endurance Championship season finale?
Is what it is, isn't it? It's technology at the end of the day. Yeah. I got scared then because it was as I went onto the SDK website. Now I was trying to look for I want to add another component to our overlay, which is the battle boxes. But I think, to be honest, right now, I think I'm going to give that a miss in doing that because I might break something, knowing me. But oh well. Great battle going on though between these two Audis. Dieter de Vlaeminck in the McChallenge by DB car, just ahead of Dirk Bouts in the RP Motorsport Azul machine. 2.25 hours gone of this race so far, and still plenty left to go. Under 10 hours left now though, Ed, so not even double digits.
No, definitely there's still plenty of time to go for these drivers. What's the next trying to take a look at this, another great battle. Dirk Bouts, round 2 of this fight between himself and de Vlaeminck. as I say that, which is the back out from that battle, stays in behind, going down the Camel straight into Le Corne. So, a bit of fuel saving coming through from Happy Motorsport Azul or Verde at this time. Look at that down through Roussel. Keeping it nice and tight together. I mean, these pair very evenly matched on pace. Nothing really in between them. Just watching as well a lot of other fights throughout the field. I mean, John Ruins, his lap times are closing the gap down to Jesse Hendricks. That could be a battle for 6th place in the closing moments of this second stint. The third stint, rather, actually. Oh my, the time has been absolutely shooting by. I mean, we've had plenty of brilliant questions as well, Chaz, haven't we? Different debates that we can have. Obviously, chocolate, does it belong in the fridge or not? Pineapple, does it belong on pizza?
No.
No. I think everyone's in agreement there. Although we did have a bit of query about mushrooms and various other things on pizza. I mean, onions on pizza, I'm quite a fan of. I know some people don't like it. I love them.
Yeah, I don't mind onions on pizza. I think that's quite that's suitable. I can let you get away with that one. But yeah, I think there are a few things that just really shouldn't be seen on pizza. And I mean, I think I got offended when Domino's started doing them with chocolate pizza things, but then I had one and it was actually quite nice.
I've never had a dessert pizza.
It's a bit odd. It's a strange sensation. Dirt bouts into the pits then, so unfortunately this battle not carrying on track as we see it. John Bruins coming through. Now this is a car that's not on the back foot, but it's certainly a car that needs to have a bit of a wake-up call and a bit of a get on with it now, because after that incident before, they're going to feel a bit aggrieved straight off the bat, aren't they here, Ed?
Yeah, and you can't really blame them for it. I mean, it was their own doing, their incident, but of course the pace is such that you should expect them to be higher up than where they currently are. P6 is not where we expect this in-district Audi to finish. It's currently where they are, and they need to do a lot to try and make up that time. They are, like we say, closing in on Jesse Hendricks. What would have been for P6 is now battle for P5 on account of the various pit stops ongoing at the moment. Like we said, it's going to give us something to be excited about. It's a battle up through the fields of this car because their paces, you have to say, definitely top 3 worthy. You need to focus on getting through the likes of DynamiXX Pink and McChallenge and Decimo.be. Martin Deckens, just watching him in the Dynamics car, still keeping in touch with the pace from Scott McFall as well at the front of the field. Sim District GT3 Lamborghini, not quite having the easiest time as I say that. I mean, they're definitely having an easy time in terms of the gap that they have, currently at 35 seconds. It's still not plain sailing. They're not streaking away lap after lap. The lap times themselves are really close together, Chaz.
Yeah, they are indeed. There's a few drivers and teams, aren't there, up and down that are sort of sharing pace at the moment. They're sort of holding station as things go. But this is that sort of moment in a race now where the drivers and the teams, they'll try and soak into a bit of a rhythm. You know, they're not going to push it too hard. They're not going to outdo themselves. They just need to keep the car going and just get on with whatever they can. You know, I think there's a few of them that will push a little bit too hard at certain points, and we've seen it before. As you see the overlay have another little bit of a blip there, and it's still doing it now, so I think maybe the servers may be struggling at this point, so I think potentially a local connection. Although, to be honest, if there's 2 of us, Ed, I'm not sure if we'll go to replays at the same time. Shall we try it?
Let's give it a bash. Let's see what's going on.
Right, we'll change the link to the local connection one as we have it on SDK. So that should pick it up from the sim at my end, and then we'll see if I once Ed is there. Apparently, we've got 5 people connected to this. That might be people watching the live timing, though, to be honest with you. But if I go to a replay when you're ready, Ed.
Yeah, let's give it a bash. Let's see.
Has it done it?
No.
Oh, so you do not see Navarro de Bova having a hit with the wall?
No, unfortunately not. I've been able to have my other tab open and you can see it on the broadcast, and it was just one of those moments, wasn't it, where the rear end steps out coming through Huon. It's easily done.
It is indeed. Now, that is a shame, but unfortunately, times do require this, I'm afraid. Gus Franken in the 626 car at the moment, RP Motorsport Audi. He has taken over now and is in 8th position on the road. Making his way down towards Rouge and Blanchimont once again. And that didn't sound like it was on full throttle there, but then again, you've got to be so careful, haven't you, up over that set of corners there, because a car like the Audi will break away from you and try and kill you.
Oh, it will. It's such a feisty car, this Audi. If it has a chance to snap ends and take you out of the race, it will do. So I really don't envy any of the drivers driving this car around Spa this evening. As I'm keeping an ear open. I'm not sure if it's coming through on my mic, but for some reason someone's decided to go through and start opening and closing every single door in.
we could
it
hear
sounds like at least every single door in my apartment, so hopefully
we could hear a little bit, but I just thought you were banging your elbows on the table trying to sort this out.
No, I think my housemates have decided now's the time that they're waking up. I mean, students, it's a week off for us, so, you know, Lions are fair enough. Not for us, though, not for me, at least. Got commentating to do, and I'm much happier to be here than anywhere else, to be honest, because this is what I really love, is sim racing. I mean, these endurance style races, there's not always something going on, but I think these are some of my favourite broadcasts, to be fair. It's a lot more of a chill atmosphere. You can relax, you can just enjoy all of the action, all of the different strategies going on. It's not necessarily always action in terms of doors banging into each other, wheels flying everywhere and elsewhere, and it's a lot more chill. It's a lot more, I guess, of a smart sort of battle. It's like a 200 kilometers an hour chess match.
Yeah, very true. Very true. I'm just trying to figure out now. We obviously, over the course of this broadcast, will be changing from part to part. This is part 1 of 4 of this event, so we can cut it up into different sections for you all. And if you do want to watch it back, and if you are watching it back, hello! We hope you're enjoying it so far. But we just need to figure out, obviously, it's 2:20, well, it's about to be 2:25 in the race, but we are currently 32 minutes past the hour, so we're about 7 minutes behind currently in terms of when our changeovers will occur. So I need to communicate that to the rest of the guys, which is Marcus Hiersdal and Hasse Raymer. But still, I don't think we're going to be too worried about a few minutes either side, are we, Ed? We're not bothered. We're just here to enjoy ourselves, aren't we?
Yeah, definitely. We're just here to have a good time. And again, this is the last broadcast on Simracersworld TV. It's a bit of a celebration, really, as a look back on everything that's come before in terms of both of our times on Simracersworld TV, our commentary colleagues' time on Simracersworld TV. I mean, I have to say, Simracersworld TV has been a huge help in terms of my commentary career. I say career in inverted commas because I still don't think I'm there quite yet, but it's definitely helping me out to no end, and I'm very, very grateful for Ian for bringing me into the fold when I was, I'd only been commentating for a few months at that point, and he's also at Emmy, and you know what, I'm eternally grateful for him because he is an absolutely top bloke.
Yeah, he is. He's a really, really good guy, Ian, and he has continued to support all of us here at Simracersworld TV, and I'm sure that will not stop even in our future endeavours wherever we may go. So I'm just trying to check when these parts will be done. So basically what we're going to do, everybody, is when it gets to about when it gets to about 5 minutes before the hour where we have the switchover, so that's when Ed will be moving on and going to enjoy himself, probably get quite a lot to drink and food and tell his housemates to shut up. He will he'll be leaving us with 2 hours and 55 minutes of the race gone. We'll then wrap up this stream, move over to the next one, just give us a little bit of time to get that done. We'll start part 2 until 5 hours and 55 minutes. Part 3 will take us through to 8 hours and 55 minutes of the race. And then we'll be on. Ed and I will be back together for the final bit. So the last half hour here for you, Ed. I mean, it's been a hell of a first half, or a first quarter, I should say. Plenty going on. We've got an actual battle going on track right now, though, which is Hans Damians and Dieter de Vlaeminck.
Yeah, it's a good way to hopefully this battle continues on for the remainder of my time in the comms box, at least for this first 3 hour stint for myself. Obviously, like you mentioned, Chaz, I'm here in at the final 3 hours as well. The pair of us started this season and we're both going to round it out as well, which is wonderful to have. But this is a great battle, isn't it? Hans Damians has actually been under a lot of pressure the lap times. I mean, they're very evenly matched between himself and Dieter de Vlaeminck, but I mean, this challenge by DB car has had a meteoric rise up through the order. Even though they might not have had the smoothest of times, they're definitely on track for a good result here, and it could be one of their best results of the season.
Yeah, that's it, and what a time to do it as well when double points are on offer.
Oh, yeah.
It's certainly the time to get the job done. And you can hear a bit of fuel saving going on as well there by Dieter de Vlaeminck in the number 4 car. Just actually, earlier as well, another thing I've been working on in the background is I've actually built a spreadsheet in this time while doing the broadcasting and the commentating to keep an eye on where people are in terms of the championship. Now, I know for a bit we're going to have a few cars out of sync, but if the race finishes as is right now, bear with me, we will have Sim District winning the championship, of course, with 140 points, maximum points. Dynamics Racing Pink would hold on to second place in the standings. And Decimo BE would be 2 points behind them in third. Flemish Sim Sports would still be fourth as well, but only 3 points behind them. But the big movers would be this number 2 Audi. Now, that is if they score points, because they have been, I'm not sure if they have been racing in the wrong car, to be honest with you, but this seems to be the only one where they've run the number 2, so I'm not quite sure what the situation is there. But they would jump 4 places up in the championship into 7th with 56 points. RP Motorsport would also fly up there as well. Even if they finish where they are now in 8th, they would actually go up 6 places and actually finish in the top 10 in the championship. So just shows you how big a difference it makes, these double points, because these guys, if they are where they are right now, would still get 20 points for their troubles, and there's a good handful of teams that haven't had that all season.
I mean, yeah, definitely it's going to be a huge help for some of these teams that have not had great results up until now. But yeah, if you can make the most of double points, you really have to do that at this stage, and you can't afford to make any mistakes from now up until the end of the race if your entire season is essentially hinging on tonight's race. I mean, like we said, RP Motorsport, they are going to get a huge jump up the order, as will challenged by DV should they finish as they currently are. Just watching him through now, though. I mean, this battle is still going on, I think, between de Vlaeminck and Hans Damians. They're keeping it close together, and I mean, I don't know which way it's going to go, because both of them are equally fast. I mean, Hans Damian's dropping back just a touch, but I don't think he's going to be too upset about that. He's just going to be mostly focused on saving fuel, because he was thrown out of sync, let's not forget. Came in on lap 45, whereas de Vlaeminck, up in third place, came in on lap 49.
Yeah, that's true. I'll have to have a look. We'll see whether, now in terms of the software itself, I'm wondering whether we can see this. Let's see if we can go from car 1 and see this many cars and look at the stint lengths of a few of them. Yes, we can. Look, there you go. So the top 5, pretty much some of the only teams that haven't had any trouble so far, really. even though the Decimo car did have a bit of a hit as well. You can see 4th place there having that problem. But still, it's quite similar in some ways, but you can just tell how that difference. Look at Scott McFall there at the top. 28 laps. Look how that diagonal line is forming there as they make the longer and longer stints at the top end. You know, it is making all the difference even at this point. If you consider how much of a chunk it takes out of that pit stop strategy, just consider what that's going to look like at the end. It's going to be mad, the difference.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can see that essentially, I think it was Hendricks and De Vlaeminck coming in essentially on the exact same lap last time by first stint for De Vlaeminck 25, second stint 24. Hendricks' first stint was the 24, then the last stint was the 25. So they are essentially on the exact same strategy, and that means that they're going to be in for a pretty interesting fight as the drivers change around, as they put their quick drivers in at different stages of the race. That's why we've been seeing so many times positions changing about after the second stop of the race. When they put in different drivers, it starts to sort of throw the cat amongst the pigeons in terms of the pace differential once more, and we've been seeing some brilliant battles, and then they're going to start to cool off over the next hour, I would imagine. But then it'll start to all heat up again. It starts to ebb and flow these races, doesn't it, Chaz? Because we see time and time again this sort of 3-hour phase of the time at the 3-hour mark starts to close off a little bit, and then it erupts again right as we come to the 6-hour phase.
Yeah, it does. You know, we have these sort of peaks and troughs over a course of a race like this, and that's why it's always so much fun to watch. In terms of the championship, by the way, the fact that Didier De Vlaeminck has now moved ahead of the Decimo BE car actually means that Decimo BE are only 1 point ahead of Flemish the way this is. If Dynamics Pink can catch up and overtake Decimo, Dynamics will get further away from Flemish, so that'll secure their second place in the championship, but it will also give Flemish third. So it'll switch that around for them because, well, that 451 car would then be 1 point behind them. So it can all change very quickly here, because there's between second and third place there's a 6-point difference, and then there's 2 points from then on down. So you get, actually, quite funnily enough, let me figure this out. I don't know if I've figured this out correctly here, but I think I might have. Okay, no. So for second place you get 34 points, sorry, not 36. Apologies. But still, that doesn't make much of a difference in the championship. Still, that is...
I mean, things can change, and things are looking like they might change, because, I mean, look at Jesse Hendricks' last lap compared to Hans Damien's. Nearly 9/10 of a second quicker last time around. Hans Damien's goes a little bit faster this time, so we're going to see when Hendricks comes up to the line what the difference is.
Oh, it's 400.
Pretty much identical. Yeah, they're very, very similar on lap times. I mean, John Bruins is absolutely rapid at this stage, so he's likely to get ahead of Jesse Hendricks, but also likely to get ahead of Hans Damien's as well. Although John Bruins, if we look at the stint timer, should be coming in within the next 5, maybe less than 5 laps actually, maybe next 4 or so laps. We might have a check just to see how long this current stint is. Yeah, in fact, John Bruins could be coming in within the next 4 or 3 laps, because he's on 22 of this current stint. Previous stint was a 25 lap run around here, so John Bruins won't have much more time on this set of, well, not a set of tyres, rather, this tank of fuel. But of course, that does throw a little bit of spice into the mix in terms of the different pit stops. You can see already drivers slightly out of sync with one another, and that starts to create that extra level of excitement, Chaz.
Yeah, that's it. And I'd like to quickly correct myself. I did say that it wouldn't make much of a difference in the championship, the fact that you get 34 points in second place rather than 36, but of course that is 2 points less for Flemish. So if the positions do change between Jesse Hendricks and Hans Damien's, it does mean that Flemish would still be 4th in the championship. They need both of those cars, the Decimo BE and Dynamics Pink car, to be at least 1 more position further down each. And this Sim District by BMS Esport NL Audi could be that spoiler in the pack, I think. So it's certainly going to be exciting, no matter what. But we will try and keep that as updated for you as we can do as we go through. So please do bear with me on that. The overriding thing, though, is the fact that once again, Sim District GT3 by Vibe BMS Esports are absolutely dominating here again. 36 seconds now, the gap, and they continue to move forward. Scott McFall and Olivier Bulting, they've just been untouchable all season, haven't they, Ed? I mean, the fuel saving combined with the pace that they've got, it's almost disgusting, isn't it?
And to add an extra level of disgust onto it, the consistency. They've not made any mistakes whatsoever, have they? They've been so quick, so consistent, right up at the top of the field from the word go. They had one hiccup at Monza, but even then they came through to win the race in sterling fashion. They've been the class act of this season, and I'm really excited to see what they can do. I was really glad as well to see them, and I'm really glad to see this. I'll put a pin in that thought, because we have the other Sim District car, John Ruins, down the inside of Dynamics Pink. Jesse Hendricks not fighting it at all, choosing instead to slot in behind. He knows, of course, that John Bruins, at least if his teammate is telling him, or if he's got a teammate listening to the stream, that John Bruins is likely to come into the pits in the next few laps, so there's no sense fighting a car that is about to make a pit stop. Instead, he can try and focus on getting in behind John Bruins and use the slipstream to his advantage. But already John Bruins is clearing a gap rather. Almost a second clear just through Lecombe and Malmedy.
Yeah, he's going, isn't he? Absolutely going. Certainly making the difference. Right now, I'm wondering whether he's actually going to get any slipstream from there. I mean, it's 0.7 of a second, yeah.
I think the slipstream goes from about as far back to 1.8 seconds. You can feel the effect. You can gain about a tenth or so in that sort of realm. It's as soon as you dip past around about 2 seconds is when the toe is, essentially broken. Depends as well a lot on the car, but these GT3 cars do get a lot in terms of slipstream, so that allows the cars to race nice and closely together. They suffer in the corners through dirty air, of course, with the aero, but then gain it all back in terms of the slipstream. So it's helps and harms in certain areas, following a car closely behind. But just going back to what I was talking about earlier, Scott McFall, Sim District GT3, brilliant to see them. I mean, had the joy of commentating them just yesterday, so it's good to know that they're still here in brilliant Lamborghini up at the top of the timing sheets. Came in second place last time out, or not last time out in terms of this championship, but for me last time I saw them on the track here at Spa in the virtual Bell car. 3 hours. A brilliant job as well, though. They did benefit, of course, from an incident involving the 77 Lamborghini Valkyrie Esports that just had a stop and go penalty for causing a collision with a car through Eau Rouge and Radeon. But still, their pace was mightily quick, and they seem to have been able to iron out a few kinks in terms of their race pace. They've got the setup nailed down, and they are absolutely rapid here this evening, Chaz. Really, really good to see. And I mean, it's a shame, of course, that Flemish weren't able to fight with them early on account of their mistake through Pouon, but it proves just how dominant they are as that Sim District. They're not making any mistakes.
No, they're really not. And I mean, I think we saw, I think you mentioned it was Monza previously, that they made one mistake. I think they had an off at Ascari or something, but I think that was down to lap traffic, I think, getting in the way for them. So, it was easier for them to make that mistake because of the lap traffic that we saw. Now we are looking here at the battle for third position. Timing will update in the bottom corner, as you see. It is about 2.9 seconds currently, so next time they trigger the sector there, you see it, 2.953 from McChallenge by DB to Decimo BE as the Porsche flies through shot. I have incorporated the battle box, as I said. I didn't think I was going to, but there we go, it's there now. And we see the differences between some of these cars when they do close in on one another, which is nice to have. And then when we go on cars that are really far away, we do not see it. So that will come up at certain points. We are going to just sort of start to wind down very soon, Ed, because contrary to what I said before, where we have to sort of wrap up with 5 minutes to go of each one, obviously there is the changeover time in the actual broadcast itself as well. I do have to set everything up to go to a second part as such and an extra bit, so people will have to bear with me. But we will be going off air with this part at 2 hours and 50 minutes of the race complete. So with only a few minutes left, Ed, have you had any sort of highlights of this original part of the race here, the initial part, I should say?
I mean, we've had some great battles, haven't we, so far? I mean, the early doors fighting between Decimo.B and Dynamics Pink, those two Porsches, they have been brilliant all season long, haven't they, Chaz? They've been really good in terms of race pace. Some of the best overtakes this season have been made by either one of those two Porsches. It was brilliant to see those two battling it out. It was well a shame to see Dynamics racing some... I keep looking on the right-hand side and seeing it's Dynamics, but it's on the left-hand side. It's Flemish Sim Sports, Martin Deckens, changing car from Dynamics to Flemish this evening for one night and one night only, as they say. Great to see him jumping in behind the wheel of the Flemish Sim Sport Lambo. Shame, of course, about their early incident and the subsequent moment through Blanchimont, but they're going to be very grateful to come through these opening 3 hours with a clean car and with a tight grip on second place. They've got nearly 40 seconds to the car in front, nearly 40 seconds to the car behind. They might be a bit sad to be all on their lonesome, but they won't be sad come the end of the race should they secure third place in the championship, because like I've been saying, that Sim District Audi has been very quick, and that could help them really, really to a great deal come the end of this race, because Robin Van Gogh, put out of sync, looks to try and make up a fair few more positions after making the pit stop, though, on lap 69. Is it going to be a nice second stint for Van Gogh behind the wheel? Actually, no, it's not Van Gogh. It's not Bruins behind the wheel anymore, is it? No, they've changed driver yet again, Chaz.
Yeah, there are some teams that do this. You know, they change position every single time they stop, and some teams just don't. You know, they won't bother. They'll only do it for certain pit stops. You know, they'll maybe do 1 or 2 hours each. Some teams have their own ways of doing it. You know, they like to keep the drivers fresh, get them in for an hour so they're sharp-minded, they don't get sort of complacent behind the wheel, and then other teams will keep the drivers in there for a while because they've shown the ability of concentration that they can carry through the whole thing. So it's intriguing sometimes to see how the different teams work like that. We do have part 2 of the stream linked in the chat, by the way, if you did want to go and prepare that. I'm not sure why the Audi isn't in a livery, to be fair, Olivier. It doesn't seem to be in the paint pack, to be honest with you. I don't think we had an updated one after Montreal, to be honest with you, but Ed has it from trading paints from another championship. But yeah, it seems like, unfortunately, that is not in the pack. Sorry, mate. I don't have any other words for it, sorry. In terms,
if you could get me the team ID, because I can't remember which one it is, I can try and send you just the TGA file.
Yeah, that's a good point. We do have the sheets for this. We do have the stuff for this. So it is the... now which one is it?
If you send it to me in a message or something, I can try and get that sorted out. I don't know if they'll be wanting their exact team ID read out on broadcast for everyone to...
No.
Yeah, but if we can find it,
one of those two. Luckily, they're one after each other, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be one of those two.
What I'll be able to do then is when we go to our sort of changeover period, I will try and get that sorted.
It's the second one. It's the second one, not that one.
It's the second one, all right.
Should be. And it is in the paint pack, apparently. Sorry, mate. Well, I've not got a clue as to why it's not working. It should be under car team and then something. It depends if they've signed up with the right team or not, because you know what team IDs can be like. They can be very, very picky. But we'll try and get that sorted between the two. But there will only be a few more minutes of this first part of the broadcast, and then we will wrap up, and then Ed May will be off to enjoy his afternoon for a bit, and then be back with us. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he did, mate. To be fair to you. It's going to be a long evening, but then Ed will be back with us at about 9 p.m. CEST, and then we'll be going through till pretty much midnight at the end of the race. But we've got our two wonderful McChallenge by DB Audis on screen right now. Great drive so far by Dieter de Vlaming and his teammate, up into 3rd position in this race so far after starting 9th on the grid. Certainly doing the job at securing the team some good championship points. 30 points coming their way for this. And as of right now, that will put them, well actually to be fair, it will keep them 5th in the championship ahead of Zenom Esports, the number 69 car, which is down in 7th place. They will also hold station in the championship with quite an advantage over the Sim District Audi. So we'll have to see. And, okay, so apparently the team ID wasn't correct that we have, so that might be why. So we'll see. Thank you very much, Ed, for sending that over.
Hopefully that's coming up on the broadcast now, because it is a very nice looking car, Chaz. I have been very sad that you haven't been able to appreciate it. Hopefully we'll be able to get it just in the last few moments of this first part of the stream.
I can't seem to see it for some reason. I think I think it is in a different number or something.
It's strange because it is showing up for me with them in it, so I have no idea what's going on. Maybe he changed the card, the last part of it to the number that you have.
Yeah.
Not sure why the team ID is not deciding to play ball.
It seemed to show up for a second, but sometimes what the liveries do is they don't show up for a bit until all of them have reloaded, so we'll have to wait and see for a minute. But yeah, nothing coming up there for me, I'm afraid. Interesting.
Very, very strange.
If Olivier, I know we yeah. I'm just thinking now. Yeah, apparently McChallenge has a new one. Now I saw that before. Is it bright yellow?
Yeah, it was on the bell car. It's one of them though that has it. I think it's the number 4 that has it.
Yeah, because I saw it earlier on Trading Paints, but when I put the paint pack on, it wasn't there.
Yeah, no, it was in the virtual bell car. It's a real. I mean, you keep saying about how much you love the McChallenge cars normally, but
yeah,
they knock it out of the park with this next one. Hopefully, I'll try and see if I can get that one sent over to you at some point if I can find
I've got
the right
Audi.
IDs.
I've got the Audi now. Olivier did send me over the. I don't have access to that channel, unfortunately. Olivier sent me a link as well. I've got the Audi now, but for some reason the number boards aren't on it. So.
Oh no, the number boards aren't on it for me either.
Oh, okay. Well, there we go.
Which is the slight annoying part, but that is the Audi livery, and it is, like you say, it's a nice bit of kit, that Audi, with the Sim District colours on it. Show out the number boards, but still, at least the livery's up now.
Yeah, it is. It is on my screen, so thank you very much, Olivier, for that. I don't have access to that Discord channel, unfortunately. I'm not in that Discord, so I cannot access that. But either way, it is time to wrap things up for the first part here. Any final words from you, Ed, before we move over to part 2 with our wonderful Marcus?
Just for all the drivers to take care. I want to see as many cars out on the track as possible for when I jump back into the comms box, because there's going to be nothing more upsetting than when I come back into the box and find out there's only 4 cars running. So for everyone, keep it clean. That's going to be my last imparted wisdom, is just keep it clean. And I'll see you all in about 6 hours.
We will indeed. Thank you very much for watching this first part, everybody. We hope that you have really enjoyed it so far. And I will be back very, very soon to see you once again. But for now, take care. And I'll see you in a few minutes with Marcus.